This is the XNC Podcast, your Xbox newscast featuring Colteastwood, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, XNC Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the XNC Podcast live. Hello, good evening, or good morning if you're in Australia, or good afternoon. This is the XNC Podcast, where the pre-show is almost as good as the full show, and I've got a good friend of mine, Special Nick, here with me today. We were talking before the show. Actually, even didn't even want to hit live yet because we're having a good time, so we thought we'd spill that over into the actual show. Welcome over 150 people who have joined in post-Christmas. For those who are celebrating, wind down, throw the wrapping paper to the side, get your recycle out to the curb. It's absolutely crazy. Welcome, Nick. How are you doing? Say hi to everybody.
What's going on, mate? What's going on, everyone? Merry Christmas. It feels like deja vu. I was saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone on our podcast with Jeff Grubb yesterday, which was fun. But it's good to be on. This is my second time now, so yeah, it's good. I've been meaning to come on because you asked me a while back, and I said, "Yep, let's do it." And then something came up at work, and I had to cancel. And I really don't like doing that. So I'm I was looking on my calendar. I'm like, "There's got to be a free Tuesday," and I took this week off work, so I thought, "Nah, I'll jump on. If you'll have me, I'll jump on."
Thank you. I mean, this community is outstanding. When you weren't able to make it, there was somebody else great that I could get on the show. But I mean, it's so good to have you back because I've been wanting to have you back. And you kind of hinted at it's Tuesday because it's Tuesday for you. And guys, yes. Nick was bragging a few minutes ago that it's if you're in North America, it is 78 degrees Fahrenheit for him right now. So tell him what the temperature is supposed to be for New Year's. We're a month into summer now in Australia, and I just checked the weather, and for New Year's Day it's going to be 102 degrees Fahrenheit, which is great. And I'm in Central Washington, and we're at I think 22 degrees Fahrenheit, so we're below freezing. So I
can't believe that. Yeah, it's so nice and warm here. I've made myself a vanilla iced latte. I'm very, very good at making these myself at home now, so I don't have to buy them. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, the comforts of being stuck at home for so long.
Yeah, you get good at stuff.
So thank you so much for being on the show. And I'll reset. It's the XNC Podcast, and this is a live podcast that I run on the Colteastwood channel. Usually every Monday, missed last Monday because we're getting into the holidays, but we're live on the Colteastwood channel. And if you want to check this out, or if you are checking out the audio form, it's on Spotify, Google, Pocket Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, on 6 or 7 of your favorite choice of podcast platforms. That's on demand, free of charge. Enjoy the show. But thank you so much. We've got some supers rolling in, but the news has been kind of quiet. This is the time when all the developers they get their patches out, they go home, they spend time with their family, but people don't stop talking about the gaming news. And Nick and I are going to cover some of that stuff today. That's going to jumpstart us into 2022, believe it or not, because it's really coming quick, right?
Yep, very much so. Hopefully it's not 2020 Part 3.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, if you look at last year, you can only hope that things are going to get better. I want to start off. I had a great conversation with Hargeet Chani, who's a good friend, and he's been a real great supporter of the channel. We were talking about how we got into gaming. He said, I want to lead this for you, have you lead this, Nick, but he said that when the Xbox was first revealed in 2000 or 2001, he was a Microsoft fan, but his attitude was what in the heck are Microsoft doing in the console game business? That's Nintendo's deal. So I thought I would start this off by asking you where you were in the year 2001 and how you took this news that Microsoft was making the Xbox.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Like, my perspective is a bit strange on it because I was a pretty hardcore Sega fanboy growing up. And then Microsoft entering coincided with the death of Sega, or Sega exiting the console business. So, you know, we've probably, most of us have said 100 times, Xbox felt like the natural progression of Sega. They were pushing for online, onboard storage. They ended up with a lot of Sega's quirky games. I was working retail at the time, I remember, and we were all invited to this nightclub in Melbourne where Microsoft Australia were holding this event to show off the Xbox and to give us a preview of the games, but it was inside a nightclub. It was pretty cool. So we were playing Fusion Frenzy, Halo. Yeah, no, it was great. Anytime I've been to a video game event here, it's always been in a nightclub. They always hold them in Melbourne nightclubs. It's great. So we got to play all the games early. I think there might have even been, correct me if I'm wrong, was NHL Hits a launch game?
I don't know. My story is way different from yours, I'm sure.
Yeah. But like I said, I was excited because, you know, Sega was gone and I needed someone who was going to take the baton off them and carry that torch. And that was Xbox. So here we are. The rest is history.
Oh my God! So you were welcoming arms for our.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I never really thought about it, but my story is very, very short. In 2001, I was going to college. I was into guitars. I was in a band. I was in a cover band. I was a lead singer. So like my mind was on learning songs, learning how to play the guitar, you know, doing that whole thing. And I played like Roller Coaster Tycoon on my little HP Pavilion or whatever that thing was. And I wasn't really into gaming. There's a short period where I had gotten into college and out and started a family, and I just wasn't thinking about gaming. It was something I did kind of every once in a while. So my memory is I don't remember Microsoft making an Xbox. I think I just remember an Xbox was existing or was out at the time.
Yeah.
It's so weird because for most people they have a really strong memory. And I just remember maybe a year or two later at my cousin's house, they were playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. That'd been like 2 or 3 years later on this Xbox. And I thought, oh, okay. Because I had a PlayStation 1. Yeah, it's like I don't have that attachment, but it's amazing how it's changed over the years. And everybody kind of gets into gaming differently. But
it was a monster. It was a monster of a console, like physically. It was so big you could have bludgeoned someone to death with it. It was just an absolute
it looked like a medieval
beast.
weapon. It had like the spikes coming off, like you could strap somebody to the top of it and get information out of them.
But it was the coolest thing at the time though. Like I remember having a hard drive in it. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever, because I think Sega were the last console manufacturer to at least attempt to have onboard storage with the Saturn. They had one of those LCD batteries that saved memory.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have a ton of memory, but it had something. And then Sony was just trying to push memory cards on us, which I was not happy about at all. So it was great that someone...
PlayStation had like 356 megabyte memory cards or some crazy thing.
No,
like
way smaller. 8 meg. 8 meg.
Was it
they were
really?
8 meg. Yeah, they were 8 meg.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was a lot. At the time, that was heaps. But yeah, it was so cool having a hard drive, and you could rip your music to the hard drive and play that music in games, and just amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is interesting. I know that we've both reflected on the Xbox 20 in our podcasts, and we've talked about it a lot on social media. It's just crazy that Xbox kind of led the industry all along, didn't they, Nick?
In a lot of ways. Yep.
Yeah. So
people forget that before the 360, there was no such thing as a digital storefront for gaming. Because Steam was there, but Steam wasn't what it now is. Steam was like you install the disc and you've got the key or something. You got to register the key.
It was
Steam didn't really go proper digital till later. So it's easy to forget that the 360 was really the first place where we had a digital marketplace in the way we know now.
It's actually crazy how Xbox disrupted the market with their forward-thinking things. Everyone's like, they were repelled, like, no, I don't want this, and it's this isn't the way games should be. And then everyone else has adopted that when they're just too early, which is which
like
is actually,
Sega was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's okay to say that's kind of an insult that Xbox was too early on stuff. You can have great ideas, but they have to be at the right time.
It's a backhanded compliment. It's a backhanded compliment. That's what it is. Like, even with their failures, like, you know, again, I am one of the dozens of us that loved the original Xbox One and what their vision was for Xbox One. Then you look at it and you think, Connect technology is in our phones, it's in our computers, it's in our cars.
It's on that hockey puck, in your room.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I can't say or to listen to me, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, everyone's got a smart speaker in their home. Apple and Google have both copied one guide and incorporated it into their TV OSs. Digital has taken... Like, it's funny. The Xbox One was very much ahead of its time. It's just, it's a shame.
I also have to add that when the Xbox One came out, I was not happy with mostly everything. But it's such a strange thing because people didn't like the Xbox One, but when I actually got hands-on and time with it, I'm like, wait a minute, this stuff is really good. I would sit there and go, Xbox, volume up. Yep. And I could be in a Titanfall match. And I didn't have to, I could just keep going. I used it for
the footy's on.
Screenshot.
Xbox, snap this, snap TV, channel 7, and then bang, there's the footy on the side while I'm playing a game. Oh, amazing stuff. Amazing.
And it's something we make fun of, but it kind of became some of that stuff needs to come back. Good. People have been asking for Snap for a long time.
Even if it's picture in picture, I'm okay with it. It doesn't have to be Snap, even if it's picture in picture.
That would be nice. I think people have been requesting that. But Nick and I are going to talk about a lot of stuff, but some of the theme that will kind of reoccur is that Xbox has been leading in a lot of ways, and we're going to talk about how the media is they're pretty happy with Xbox.
They're getting on board.
Yep. And I mean, I'm a massive Xbox fanboy, but looking back at what they did last generation, I sat and waited, and I asked for them to do this. I asked for them to get off the bench and start putting out games, and at this time is coming. We're going to talk about that as well. Kung Fu Hot Dog, of channel member 4 months, says, hey, Colt, got an early morning here in the UK. He says he's going to listen to the podcast later. He says, are you going to E3 2022? Yes. Nick, are you thinking you are going to make a trip to LA if they come back full force?
I was about to say, do you think it'll be an in-person event, though?
I'm going to lean heavily on the side of yes, but I have my doubts. But Microsoft just announced that they won't be attending CES, and I don't know when that event is. Maybe
it's in like a week or two. I think it's in a couple of weeks.
So that kind of could give you a gauge, audience, if you're listening and wondering about E3. Should I start planning ahead for June, like June 12th? I think it will be. I was kind of looking at that calendar as well because you got to make big moves and big choices. I talked to a couple people at Xbox a few nights ago, several nights ago, about what do you guys think E3 is coming back? Like, I didn't say, hey, tell me if you've got the in. And Xbox is totally on the guard of, we want to go back to E3. If E3 says we're back, we're there. And that seems to be the attitude of Xbox. So it's really up to the E3 committee. I can't remember what they're called. The E3ers. So it's really up to how the world is going to adapt. But then I think about going to LA and spending 3 days with a mask on is like, it's not ideal.
Not just that, though. Like, isn't it like, from what I've been told, because I was registered with ID at Xbox many, many years ago, and I got an invite to go to E3 quite a few years back. But at the time, I couldn't really afford the flights and all that sort of stuff, so I didn't go. But from what I've been told, like, I've been to Australian gaming equivalents of E3, and from what I'm told about E3, it's a lot like how it is here. It's just lining up for hours and hours and hours on end to play games for a couple of minutes before being moved on to a different game.
So you've never made it to the LA E3 before?
No, I have not. I've never been to the US. So last year, I'm not a big traveler. I'm just one of those people that's not very interested in travel. And then my wife finally convinced me, and last year I booked 2 flights to Vegas for my 40th. And I booked those flights February 2020.
Oh my gosh. A month before everything went.
Fully, almost completely paid for. Like $11,000 was like already paid for. Two business return flights, 6 nights at the MGM Grand. It was all done as a big package. I thought, bugger it. We'll go to Vegas. We'll do it properly. And then March came, and I spent the next 9 months getting my money back.
Oh man, that sucks. My wife and I were heading to Seattle Wednesday evening for a concert, and that morning the Washington State governor was about to announce if we were shutting down or not. And of course, the whole announcement was so he could say we were shut down. So that's not as bad as Vegas, but ever since then, nothing. No E3. 2019, the year before everything shut down, was the first time I went. So I really want to go.
Did you enjoy it? Was it good?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was amazing. Basically started out Sunday morning, went to the Xbox presser, the E3 presentation for Xbox.
Yeah, and then that's what I do want to go to.
Oh, it's amazing. And of course, at this point, you and I would hopefully get invited to that again. I mean, making some moves, Nick.
You probably will. I don't think Microsoft probably doesn't like me that much, to be honest.
Oh, stop. So I don't know. It was outstanding. And then they do a fan fest, which I also asked Xbox about the fan fest. They want to do that. It's just like, will the world let them? I feel like Xbox is like, they're just waiting for the go ahead.
Yeah.
And they want to do this. And I think.
Well, they've been going pretty hard at the Game Awards the last couple of years. So it seems like, because I know that for years people have complained that they hold everything for E3. So I wonder if that's why they've gone so hard at the Game Awards. So they've got something every 6 months. So they've got E3 June and then Game Awards December. And just every 6 months they've got a big show, I guess. I know the Game Awards isn't theirs, but
right.
by having a big presence there, they kind of do it by proxy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because they've got, I don't know what they plan to do in the spring or late winter, but yeah, they do have, I guess late winter would be the Game Awards. Yeah, they do kind of have something every 6 months. We need more. We need more. We'll talk about that well. But I would say my prediction is that E3s should be coming back and we'll all be wearing masks. I just can't imagine them checking cards at the line. The lines are crazy, but yeah, it's so worth it to go. I hope I can go. Let's see. We got Mo B with a $5 super. He says, Colt, hope you had an awesome Christmas. I had an awesome one with my wife and got the Xbox mini fridge. Everybody don't forget to hit that like button. Hey, I should say that, if you're enjoying the show, there's over 400 people here watching the show with Nick and I. If you're having fun, minimize the chat for a second, hit the like button, then come on back and talk with all the great people in the chat that are here. But the Xbox mini fridge is weird. I have one right here.
I know, I can see it. I wish I could get one here.
It does not get your drinks as cold as you would want. Like, it just after spending some time with it, it just doesn't do it. So
is it secretly just a case for an Xbox Series X?
It should be, yeah. I mean,
because I think it fits the Series X in there perfectly.
It does. It'll be like the perfect, nuclear blast proof carrying case.
It's
for
like
Series X.
It's like the Exhibit Series X case. We put a Series X inside your Series X.
What I need to do is get a mini fridge. You just keep open the door and you open the door and you open the door like the little Russian eggs. And, that'd be a nice little talking piece. Dwan TJ, thank you so much for the $5. He says, hi, Colt, been waiting all day to watch the show. Thank you. And I've been waiting all week to have it. Didn't have it last week. Had family stuff and got ready for Christmas. All good stuff. And Xbox Gay with the $5 says, "Hi Colt, I'm so happy with my Xbox 360 Slim I got for Christmas." We got a classic console.
How did he get a Slim?
Now the 360 is that the as we called it the Elite, right? The shiny black.
No. So there's the stock standard 360.
Yes.
Then we had the 360 Slim, which is that one that wasn't curved, but it almost just went in a bit more sharply. Then we had the 360E, which was the last
E one
model
I'm thinking of, the shiny one that has kind of a bow tie shape to it, right? Wow, I gotta look that up really quick.
The 360E was the last one. Not quite as pretty as the first two. I'm not a massive fan of the E, but that's the Slim. The Slim is the good looking one. It does
kind of look like the E. Oh, okay. I just thought that was the black version of the white one. I've never had one. So
no, the Slim. Cool. You know the Halo Reach and Halo 4 360s.
Yes,
they were the Slims. That's the Slim.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How did you get one of those for Christmas though?
Yeah, I got to find out where you got that. He also says, "My future husband will be an Xbox gamer, no exceptions." I always wonder about that. Like, if you're, it's kind of strange. Like in this modern era, if you're dating, like if you push for finding someone who loves gaming, so that when you get together, there's no disappointment when you go, "I'm gonna go play for a little while." So,
yeah, I only had one girlfriend in the past who sort of started going out, and she wasn't into gaming, but she bought a PlayStation 2 to keep at her house for when I was there and I could play it.
Oh, what? That's a nice perk.
Yeah, it was nice. We hadn't been together long, and she bought a PlayStation 2 to keep at her place for me. I was like, okay, I'll take it. Not a problem.
Well, that'll work, right? That'll work.
Yeah.
RRD says, with the Canadian $2, says, "Happy holidays, Colt, plus Xbox Era equals love." Yeah. Well, Xbox Era is awesome. I've been checking out their stuff for a while. I've been on their show twice, maybe?
Once. I think only once. We need to have you back.
I was on their show, and it felt like I was on there twice. It was so good. How about that?
But the book got funded. Aren't you doing a bit for the book?
Yeah, you guys got that funding so fast. That was good. Unbelievable. If you don't know what we're talking about with the book, they're doing a special. Well, I should have you plug it, but they put together a crowdfund for a commemorative book about
20 years of Xbox.
Yep. Yeah. So
aren't you doing a bit for it?
Yes, I think John is going to have me write up something for it.
I was about to say, have you forgotten? Have you?
Well,
you've already forgotten that you're supposed to be doing a bit for it.
I will ask him to give me more direction and give me a deadline, so I'll hop to it. You know, so I'm not sitting here playing video games going, "Did I have something I needed to do?"
Yeah. I reminded Jeff Grubb and MVG. They've got their bit they need to do in it too.
Those are a couple of other great guys that I've had on the show. Kate Forever with a $2 super chat says, "The Australian Wombat has entered the arena." And let's see, Drawn TJ, thank you for the $5. He says, "I wish they bring back the Snap feature, give us the option, turn it off or on so we can watch football or news."
Yeah, that's what I used to use Snap for. I just used, if the footy was on, I'd snap one or the other. I'd either have my game small and the footy big, or my game big with my footy small. It was such a good feature.
I actually used it to, when I was playing Forza Horizon 2, you could snap Google Play, I think it was. I had to snap it through a browser because they didn't have an app. And so I'd have to have my driving screen smaller so I could have a browser snapped on the side so I could play my music. And I thought, we're almost there. Like,
do you want to hear a weird story about Snap?
Yeah. Well,
it's something I discovered by accident. So long after Snap had been discontinued, the Twitch app, because the Twitch app got replaced with a newer Twitch app, but I still had the old one, and the old one still snapped to the side even after Snap was gone.
Really?
Which made me wonder, was Snap actually a per app thing, or was it system wide?
And now it's totally gone, weird. Right?
Yeah, the Twitch app got updated to a newer version that doesn't snap, but the old one snapped after Snap was gone. And I was like, what? Snap is still there. How else do I get this to work?
Oh my gosh. Everyone looks back at the dashboards, and my favorite 360 dashboard is not the blades like everyone else.
Mine is.
Mine is the angled reflective pages that ran across.
Yeah, that was nice.
That were spaced apart. Too. I felt like I could just flip over to the right super quick. I knew where everything was. It wasn't. You didn't have this stuff is up here, stuff is down there. Everything was linear. And then you could put a background on it. I thought that stuff was great, but Xbox made some cool stuff. Now they're just like really bare bones on the dashboard. But
you reckon?
Anyway.
I don't know. I don't mind the dashboard, and I like now that they're introducing not themes per se, but at least they're doing animated backgrounds.
Yep. Finally. Yep.
Yes, they've got some really, really cool ones. It's just sort of funny how PlayStation and Xbox swapped in that sense. So with Xbox One and PS4 had those awesome themes. I actually spent a lot of money on themes on PS4. And then Xbox had nothing. But then all of a sudden with Series X, we now have animated backgrounds and PlayStation 5 has nothing. It's just funny how they've completely flipped.
Yeah, I just wish they'd get rid of the promotional type stuff at the bottom half of the dash. I'm not on the dash very long, but I've got like the animated Master Chief with the needler fire coming at him.
Yeah,
it's cool looking, but most of it's covered up by the dash. Like, shrink that stuff down, but I don't know. They got it where it's working, and I do get lost in the PS5. I like the PS4.
That's
dash
a horrible
lot more.
UI. Yeah,
it was. That's what I liked about the PlayStation dashboard was linear. That's why I like that 360 one. I knew everything was in a line, and you could go up from there. Everything was in columns. And now I go into the dashboard. I'm like, why did they do this? I don't like this. But
they had the PlayStation 4. They had the PlayStation 4 UI in a really good place. So it was a bit disappointing that they just went and scrapped it all.
They wanted to give people that next generation feel, and I don't think that's always the best thing.
My problem is that they sacrificed so much usability for those activity cards that no one uses. It's just the sooner they get rid of those, or at least don't make them so prominent. They just. I
mean, to be fair, most people aren't in the dash long enough to really worry about it. You're mostly in there playing games, and that stuff's working. Yeah. But speaking of PlayStation, G4 TV's back. Thank you, Adam Sessler, for finally coming back. I'm a fan. I know some people don't love everyone. I've really liked Sessler, but he was doing his podcast with G4 TV, and a woman in the podcast said that Xbox is doing great things. And then what was the quote she said, Nick?
I don't remember the quote. I know she alluded to there not being much to play on PlayStation, I think, for 2022, I think.
Which isn't true. Like, isn't very true at all. I mean, they have almost as many games as Xbox, don't they?
But I guess it depends on your perspective, doesn't it? So, if you love first person shooters, what is there?
PlayStation doesn't have anything at all. No.
If you love platformers, what is there?
Do
you know what I mean?
So yeah.
It's funny, like the whole argument about who has games, who doesn't have games. It's going to vary from person to person. You can have 10 exclusives on your platform. If they're all in one genre, then what does it matter to someone who doesn't like that genre?
Well, I mean, there can be 8 first-person shooters, and if they're really excited about that, that could be super great. But
it can be, and that's why it's going to be different for every single person. So, if you love Sony's third-person, over-the-shoulder, narrative-driven, slow walk and talk games, then I guess next year is a good year for you. You've got God of War, hopefully, if that doesn't get delayed into 2023.
We're hearing Horizon. A placeholder date of September 30th for God of War Ragnarok. Let me look at the calendar and see what if it doesn't land on a Tuesday or a Friday, then it's a placeholder date for sure, right? Let me look.
This far out it would be anyway, wouldn't it? Far out,
of course, and that would be a Friday. Yeah, September 30th. Maybe their placeholder date, meaning they're pushing for September of 2022. But let me jog your memory, Nick. What are like the 4 big games coming out on PlayStation 5 in 2022? I might not be able to help you on this.
if nothing gets delayed, then we've got God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo 7.
There you go.
Do we count Ghostwire Tokyo?
I haven't heard a release window on that I remember. And that's, of course, from Bethesda Studios, ZeniMax
Final
Studios.
Fantasy 16.
Is Forspoken coming in 2022?
I think so.
That's a pretty good lineup.
So. Yeah. That's all, but again, like, it's 4 similar games and a racing game.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Fair
enough.
Where in 2021, Returnal is quite different from Ratchet and Clank, which was also quite different from Destruction All-Stars, which was... Everyone forgets that came out in 2021. I think everyone forgets that came out full stop. But that was also in 2021. So, like, at least this year with PlayStation, we got a fair bit of variety, depending on what you like. Again, but there might be a lot in 2022 we don't know about. So, who knows? But did I get all of them? Is that basically all 4 or 5?
Yeah, there's probably some smaller games. I think...
Stray?
Yeah, Stray. I was going to say the cat game. For some reason, I'm forgetting the name. I was thinking it started with an R. Yeah, Stray.
That looks cool.
It looks interesting, right? It looks like there's always
but it's
the
something
little games.
Different.
There's always the little games, right? That are like surprise you. Yeah. So Xbox.
I like that
quite
sort of stuff. I like stuff that's different, like the gunk. Like
I want to ask
Escape.
you about the gunk before we get into PlayStation versus Xbox in 22, because it's an interesting set of games. They kind of offer the same caliber, like this big game, this medium game, this medium game, right? I played the gunk. I played it in basically 2 sittings, one evening and then the next morning. And what'd you think of it?
I'm still playing through it. I don't know how far. Like, I don't know how far from the end I am. I'm about 4 or 5 hours at the moment.
Close. It's like 5 hours.
I'm really enjoying it. I like it. I like how simple it is, and I like how chill it is, and it's just
kind of satisfying, isn't it?
I like stuff like
weird.
that. No, not at all. I like my short games. It's very pretty. It's one of those games where you can see the potential for something greater in the future. Like if they get more budget and more resources thrown at them, they could make a sequel that could be something really, really special. Maybe go all out on the physics, like Jeff Grubb
you should be able
yesterday.
to do something. Like you can vacuum up the gunk, but you can't like deposit it and create, ways up vertically, or create structures or use it in combat.
And that's what Jeff Grubb was saying. He's like, it'd be cool if they could make some sort of physics-based thing out of the gunk, and like you could do stuff with it, which is a cool idea. But again, that comes with maybe a bigger team, more budget, more resources. So that's what I mean when I say you can see the potential there for something, and hopefully they get a chance to do that.
It's weird because I'm glad I played it, which is a strange thing to say, but like it was on Game Pass. We didn't pay a dime for it, really, right? But I'm glad I played it. I enjoyed it.
It's great.
It just kind of it missed that little thing, like maybe a little bit of combat while you're getting in and around to try to stay alive, to give you something besides just the exploration. But I feel like that framework is there for do something great. And this is their first game in a 3D other than just a 2D side scroller. So this is a big jump for them.
They did SteamWorld Dig, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, that's cool. Gunk was interesting. And we all often discount the smaller games because PlayStation has a couple of games like Stray and a couple that we probably are completely forgetting that are probably going to surprise us and delight.
And I mean, we had Kenna this year. See, like I forgot about Kenna. There was Kenna. I'm just trying to think what else. I can't even. I mean, 2022 for Nintendo could be huge.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Kirby game. Hopefully, we get Breath of the Wild.
I think we're going to see that reward of making it through 2021, where 2020 had caused all those delays. And then they labored through this year to bring out some games and push games out. So it's going to be kind of an avalanche of games. Somebody said something in the chat I got to highlight. Dr. Dinglehut said, remember your friends list when I was talking about that linear 360 list?
Yes.
And you had all your Xbox avatars? He said, remember your friends list will be all these avatars asleep.
Sleep, yes, that's right.
Everybody was offline.
That's right.
And
everyone's in these weird outfits and different makeup and hairstyles. And
I had the aviators, of course, the spiky, dorky hair, and the Red Dead Redemption red T-shirt and jeans, and that was like my thing.
I settled. What happened was I'd find something I'd like and I'd pick it. But the one that I think I settled on and had the longest, and I could even still have it to this day if I check on 360, is the Bruce Lee outfit from Game of Death.
Yeah. I saw friends with that.
The one that Kill Bill was inspired by.
What did that come from? Did that come with Sleeping Dogs or something?
No, you could just buy it.
You just buy it?
Oh, I wasted money on Avatar stuff. I bought Adidas runners. I bought Diesel jeans. I wasted so much money on those avatars. But I settled on the Bruce Lee outfit. I loved it.
I think that stuff's far gone. Xbox tried to resurrect it like 3 or 4 years ago, and
they did nothing with those avatars.
It was barely better. Like, it looked so impressive. They really oversold it in like 2017 or 2018.
They did.
And then it came out. It's like I was watching my kid mess with that like a few months ago, and I was like looking at it, I'm like, it's barely better than what they did on the 360. And it's like also supposed to be in Unity engine and impressive, but not so impressive. But so we kind of glossed over the quote from G4 TV, but this woman said that Xbox was looking really great in 2022, and they have, I guess we hadn't quite gotten to it, but she said that Xbox was poised to leave PlayStation in the dust, and this really upset a lot of people. And she also mixed in she didn't quite know what, she named some multi-plats that were going to be on Xbox. Like, she didn't seem too informed about what next year looked like.
Exclusive-wise,
yes.
To be honest, I don't even know. The only ones that come to mind are Redfall and Starfield.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have that list for you if you'd like to go buy some of it. I could help you out, because that's what we do. We think of first party, Redfall and Starfield.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of third party deals. And Forza Motorsport. So it's basically
Forza
3 and 3.
No.
Let's just put it this way, Nick.
Okay.
Gran Turismo's coming out. Gran Turismo 7 is supposed to come out in the spring.
Yeah.
Or early summer. And then in the fall, you'll get Forza Motorsport. And then
you reckon? You don't think it'll get delayed, Forza?
I don't think so. I did a report on Forza Motorsport last week on my channel, and Chris Ozaki, the lead at Turn 10, said, we'll see you in 2022, and he just kind of kept alluding to they were ready. So
I hope so.
It just seems like one of those things where at E3, they'll have a good 5 or 8 minute segment just on Forza Motorsport. I don't know if they're going to roll a car out. I hope not. They've done that enough. But and then they're just going to say the game's coming out in holiday. So I'm gonna stick with Gran Turismo versus Forza Motorsport this year, and then you've got Horizon Forbidden West, which is a massive AAA open world game, which Xbox is putting next to that a month or two later. Redfall,
Stalker?
which is from first party, right? So you've got Redfall, which is really a 4-player Borderlands, Left 4 Dead style zombie or vampire killer, right? And then you've got God of War Ragnarok in the fall, and then Xbox has Starfield, which is God of War Ragnarok will be an amped up God of War 2018 in new areas, and Starfield is going to be a massive RPG space opera. So
it's going to be big.
I mean, Horizon Forbidden West will probably be bigger than Redfall in some ways.
Yes, safe to say.
Right? Redfall will have more longevity. But when you look at those 3 games side by side, Xbox and PlayStation, nobody's coming out the winner on that one. What do you think?
Yes, I think because Starfield is one of those games where it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's not its reputation per se, but it's, I don't know, almost like its aura grows and grows with every passing month. Like people keep looking forward to Starfield more and more. And I think because Mass Effect hasn't had a truly great game since obviously 3
10 years.
People, I think, because Halo, yes, Halo's in space, but it's not a space RPG or anything like that. It's a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
So I think people might be craving that big open space opera RPG thing that they loved with Mass Effect. And of course, most people love Fallout. So and it appears like the delay for Starfield is almost purely for polish.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, because Todd Howard said because Ryan McCaffrey asked him, you kind of put that in pencil, and Todd Howard joked back to him, said, we put it digitally on the console of the ship, like in the trailer. He says, I feel like we put that in ink. So I think Todd Howard said, we like that number, 11, 11, 22. We know we're going to hit it. So we've given ourselves plenty of time. Well, maybe they were ready sooner than later, but they just are going to give themselves all that time. And knowing Todd Howard and the team at Bethesda's MO, they'll show the game a bunch at E3, and then they'll say it's coming out this November, right? So,
I have a sneaking suspicion that Starfield was probably ready for this year.
Sure, I do too.
But it was probably going to launch in the traditional Bethesda state, where it's a bit buggy and it's a bit unpolished and it's a bit janky, and people make memes out of it and they make fun of it. But after Cyberpunk, I don't think studios want to do that anymore.
And Fallout 76,
yeah.
Yeah,
sure. and I don't think studios want to do that stuff anymore. Nice? So I think Todd and Phil probably had a chat and were like, look, you've got Halo. Halo will cover you guys for a while. Give us an extra year. And Phil's probably like, yeah, go for it. Polish it up. Spit shine. Have it come out nice and shiny.
What a different Xbox. Like, they didn't do that before. They were always about, quarter this, quarter that. And
get it out the door.
We've watched publishers. This is what happened to Battlefield 2042. It's what happened to Cyberpunk, where the publisher has the say, and the developers don't get to say so, right?
Yeah, look at COD. Look at Vanguard.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, the difference is night and day between where we were in 2014 with Master Chief Collection versus where we ended up in 2021 with Halo Infinite. Mm-hmm. One game was given all the time in the world to fix any issues, get it right, whatever. Master Chief Collection was just like, man, that would have to go down as one of the all-time broken launches for a major title. It would have to be.
I was so oblivious to it because I had already told myself I had just played Combat Evolved. What was it called? Anniversary Edition?
Anniversary.
Like a year or two before, I'd already played through it. And so my plan was, when I buy the Master Chief Collection, I'm going to play through Halo 2 in full. And while everyone was struggling to get online, I was just playing the campaign. I was totally oblivious to it. But it is so much better. They're giving that time.
Yeah, it's great.
There are a couple games here. I'm actually going to work on a video about 2022 because it's bigger than we realize. But there are a couple of interesting games coming on this. They've got this white screen in front of me. Of course, we have Stalker, and we have Warhammer Darktide, which is another 4-player, co-op shooter, right?
Crossfire
X, yep. And how about Atomic Heart? I think this one is exclusive to Xbox at launch.
That name rings a bell.
It is like, it's kind of that steampunk first-person BioShock type game where they use telekinesis, and it takes place in Russia, I think.
Oh yeah,
you remember
that game
was
really
there's like
cool.
the big circle metal drone, spheres drone, and he lifts up and he's shooting, and it's got some weird cybernetic characters. That
you know who does the
really
music
cool
for that game? Mick Gordon.
Mick Gordon from Doom
and Killer Instinct.
Really?
Well, that's what it said. That's what I just looked that up now, and it's got composer Mick Gordon.
That could have. Let's see. Donataku's saying it's not exclusive, just day one on Game Pass. Okay, that is good to know.
That's okay.
Of course, I'll check all this stuff before I make a video, because when people hit me in the comments, after a video's produced, it hurts.
Gotta watch it. Gotta watch your words. Gotta watch your words, mate.
And Xbox has been funky about this lately. Like, I'm almost done with the Chorus, which is actually a pretty cool little game for $40. Little space shooter. And I would think the majority of the people thought that was a Game Pass title, the way that Xbox did their events last year. So that was another weird one. See, the gunk was in Game Pass. There's another game that came out recently where everyone's like, this isn't free. But, that's how it is. But that's kind of how they've been. Let's see. Anaconda is a first-person, like, how do I explain it? Kind of like forgetting the word, a cel-shaded game. It's very stylized, kind of like it looks like a We Happy Few shooter. It's very interesting. I think that one is exclusive, but it's also coming to Game Pass day one. So you've got Shredders, the snowboarding game.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the number of games is, but I think they have like 30-some games coming to Game Pass, and a few of them are exclusive. Of course, Plague's Tale Requiem is another one that was coming to Game Pass. Like, you don't have to pay full price for it if you're a Game Pass subscriber. So
that's good.
Replace is another one. Stuff Sean just said.
Yep.
There's a bunch of them. A bunch of smaller ones. Replaced is like a pixel art. I think it's the one's kind of like got that Blade Runner vibe to it.
Yes.
So
another one.
There are a whole bunch of them. In the video, I won't even be able to cover most of them unless I just show short clips. But
Somerville,
yeah.
Isn't that one coming to Game Pass as well?
If you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass, I would clear your SSD. Yeah,
and honestly, I said this yesterday, and I've said this a couple of times on our show. I would not be surprised if MLB 2022 is on Game Pass as well.
I think it's coming back, huh? I reckon great success, right?
Yeah, I reckon MLB will be there again on Game Pass next year.
So that's what happens. Like, all these people download MLB on Game Pass, and the rest who don't want to use Game Pass just shell out the money from the FOMO, right? Yeah, I played quite a bit of that one too. Let's see. So,
not to step on your toes here, but there's a few super chats. Did you want to go through them? They're banking up.
This is what I love about having like a podcast expert as a guest, like, because it takes so much pressure off. Yes, thank you so much, Nick. Hargeet Chani, a good friend of mine, said, thank you for the $10. We've been talking cars, we've been talking games, we've been talking audio, we've been talking everything. He says, like I was telling you, Colt, and he agrees with Special Nick. He says, depends on what games you like. He's more excited for Breath of the Wild 2, Redfall, and Starfield over God of War Ragnarok or Horizon Forbidden West. And he says we also have third-party games. So there's a bunch of third-party. There's all the multi-plats. Like February is you're in big trouble in February. There's so many games. And then of course there's all the third-party games that are on PlayStation but are included with Game Pass. And then Xbox is striking third-party exclusive deals like Scorn, Crossfire X, Stalker 2. List goes on and on. It's actually unbelievable. So this is what the hang-up was over the last year with the delays. But so when the G4 TV co-host says that Xbox is going to leave PlayStation in the dust, I think it's more. It's a lot more than just saying who has the better games, Nick. What do you think she's alluding to? Because there's things that Xbox is doing that PlayStation isn't ready to do.
Yeah, well, it's stuff like xCloud, it's Game Pass, it's all these things. I mean, xCloud now is pretty much officially launched everywhere, and I think the biggest one is the xCloud usage on console. So I don't know, have you tried it yet? Have you tried using xCloud on your console? I was actually shocked at how good it is.
Yeah, I loaded up the Ascent on there, and the only thing I saw was it's blurrier because it's 1080p through the limitation of xCloud, but it loads right up because I needed to record something. I was doing my Series X review 1 year later, and I wanted to load up a game I liked that I didn't have installed, and I had recently uninstalled Ascent. I got to say something real quick, Nick. I heard I heard today from a little bird. You know how we have these little birds that tell us stuff that we're not supposed to hear? Yeah. This is my inside information is that Xbox teams are putting a big emphasis. This last year, they put a big emphasis on PC, getting PC games and getting everything up and running and getting a nice foundation for PC gaming as well as the console. But in 2022, they're putting a bunch of effort into making game streaming and xCloud like completely accessible and seamless and like everywhere. Like an amazing experience. So
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year, if we don't have the TV app at least on Samsung TVs,
which was actually due by now, right?
Yeah, I think it should have been. And maybe, who knows? Maybe we get the streaming stick, little streaming box thing. If not released this year, then maybe announced this year. Like, I don't know.
Like that's the rumor. They're working on a little Steam Link type box, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know if it's a stick or if it's just a little Apple TV type little thing. But yeah, I think they're working on something like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that this year. But the streaming experience is quite good when you've got more dedicated hardware involved. Like, I was at my parents' and they've got an old 1S that I gave them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the normal stuff's installed on it for the kids: Rocket League, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I saw Halo Infinite there with the little cloud logo next to it. I'm like, I'll just give it a go. I'll just see what Halo Infinite's like. Man, I was actually surprised at how well it ran, how it felt. There was a little bit of lag. Like, I'm not going to turn around and say,
"Oh, it was running at 60 on a 1S," right?
Yeah, like it was. I was surprised. Like, I had a bot match. I had a couple of bot matches, and it was like okay. Like, I was honestly shocked.
I heard multiplayer can be a little brutal with latency, but did you try the campaign? Like, go in the open world and mess around?
No, I just had a couple of bot matches, which, again, I was surprised at how it felt. I tried Halo 5 here when it first came out because I uninstalled Halo 5. Like, once I had Halo Infinite, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play Halo 5 multiplayer ever again. Uninstalled it. But I'm like, you know what? I'll try it via cloud. And I jumped into the campaign, and again, like, on console, it actually feels surprisingly good, and it almost makes me sad. Like, I'm one of those people who, for the better part of, I don't know, a year and a half, I've been saying, do Halo Infinite a favor, ditch Xbox One. Don't tether it to Xbox One anymore, ditch Xbox One. The fact that the console cloud app or the console cloud ability came to the consoles 1 month before Halo launched makes me feel like they weren't coordinated in their efforts. Like, clearly they didn't know that the cloud ability on console was going to come right near launch, because then they could have ditched Xbox One and said, hey, you want to play it on Xbox One?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they could make that decision back that far, knowing one was going to land or the other, give
That's
up
what I mean.
work.
They're not coordinated.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Side note, Halo 5 has really great combat. Yeah.
Halo 5 feels amazing. It always has. Halo 5's problems were never in gameplay, not in multiplayer. Halo 5's problem was purely that campaign. It was just...
Yeah, just didn't do enough. I got to ask you, Nick, did 343 earn the rights to take over Halo?
I think they have now. I think with Infinite, they third time's a charm. Third time's a charm. They got something wrong with Halo 4. They got something wrong with Halo 5. It seems now with Infinite, we finally got them making good multiplayer as well as a good campaign.
Have you seen this fan-made desert biome? It's like a little 30-second walkthrough where someone like built a desert biome next to like banished wreck ships and has like Master Chief's gun walk out and look around, and you've got this desert. Like, it's this cool thing I saw on Twitter. You'll have to check it out. Maybe I'll put a link up for it later on. But somebody fan made this, and like, we can only dream that the next expansion, if they just pick a different biome and that's where you do the next campaign. Man, it's gonna be so good. I've got a bunch of...
Well, they could do it.
They could do it, man. Like, we already know, because 343 made amazing desert. The Halo 4 and 5 jungles levels are amazing. We already know they know how to do it. I mean, I don't care if you bring over some ferns from the old game. Make it happen.
But the thing is, Halo Infinite itself, you see it on the map and you see it when you play. It's all broken up into segments. So there's no reason
on
that future...
quarter of the ring, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, just future DLC could you plonk a desert segment, you plonk an ice segment, you plonk, like... whatever. Like, you could just, because it's all done and it's all broken up.
This just occurred to me. Let me ask you a question, Nick. Do you think that if they make a new biome for the next campaign, that you would be able to fast travel back to the first biome? Like,
yeah, why not?
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like, that could be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be.
Somebody at Xbox also told me that they have more stuff to put in the map. I don't know if he or she means that they can add more things to do in the Halo Infinite map as quick DLC or as quick, free content, or if they mean they can take that map structure foundation and build something new, with which obviously they're going to do. There's really good things to come, but let's see. We got Risk It for the Biscuit with a 5-pound super says, I did a little fishing, and apparently there's some parts of development of God of War that are having issues. Possible it may see another delay. I can't imagine that having a lot of issues, but...
Well, I mean, the thing is, people need to not put too much stock in the word issues. Like, a lot of people see the word issues and assume, oh my God, it's in trouble. In the end, everything's getting delayed these days. Like, they put 2021 as the title year for when they first revealed God of War.
Sure.
And it was never going to be 2021. I mean, I when I was first told about God of War, I was told it was going to be a 2022 game right from the start. But I still think ideally they wanted it in 2021. I just don't think it was ever realistically going to happen. But, we saw Horizon Forbidden West got delayed.
Everything got delayed.
That's right. Everything gets delayed. So, we just didn't Final Fantasy 16 just also get delayed literally in the last day.
Yeah. Somebody said that in the chat as well.
I think people, like, post 2020, I think people need to look very differently at delays. And don't assume they're a sign of trouble. Just accept that that's the way it is now.
Accept it as a sign of it's going to be better, right?
Yeah, that's right. Look at it as a good thing. Don't look at it as a bad thing. We have more than enough games to take up our time, where if something gets delayed a little bit, it's okay. It's fine.
Like January, you may wonder what you're going to play, but February, you're screwed. It's going to be crazy.
But do we always need to have something new constantly?
I do.
I don't. I don't mind.
I was actually tempted
break.
to
I don't know.
do a replay of Mass Effect Trilogy, Female Shepherd, which I haven't done yet on the remastered trilogy. But I got to find something that I really want to dig into before the big games come out. But come on, Nick, like, don't you always want something new so you can put something on the back burner and keep stacking it back?
I'm tired of adding to my backlog. I want to get through stuff. Like, I was so happy to be done with Halo, not in a bad way, as in I managed to fully complete it without sort of leaving it behind. Like, I got all the collectibles, beat the game, and now I wait for co-op to arrive to do a legendary run.
Yes.
But there's so many games that I started and I need to go back to, and I start to get upset because I like to complete my games. But these service games keep taking my time away. Rocket League, Fortnite, now Halo multiplayer. They just, it's...
Yeah.
I never thought that as I got older, I'd become one of those people that plays those multiplayer games as a service games. Like, I was always a single player guy growing up. I was always all about single player games, but then as I got older, I think once I had kids, it all just changed. Like, because when you play these games, like now I'm struggling to finish The Last of Us Part 2. I keep forcing myself to go back to it.
And it's not a happy game to go back to, though.
No. And I think because these games, like, you have to dedicate time to them. Like, you need to sit down and know that you're going to have a good 2, 3, 4, 5+ hour block to just sit and play this game. And that becomes really hard to do when you've got kids. Mm-hmm. So, with Fortnite, I can jump in, play a game, and jump out. With Rocket League, I can jump in, play a match, jump out. Like, it's not... I don't know.
Yeah, I always think when my kids were smaller, like multiplayer games, there was no pause. But yeah, if you get a couple matches in, and then somebody's like got their hair stuck in the cookie dough mixer, you got to jump out. I got to ask you about Fortnite, because you have a funny little thing you want to share about that, and we got to talk about Fortnite for a minute, which is this is a weird thing to talk about. But Mo B with the $5 super chat says, Colt, do you think Microsoft hit the 30 million subs for Game Pass this year? I'm gonna think they got close, but they didn't. Right, Nick?
I think they're around 25.
25, huh?
I put them around 25.
Were they at 23? And I was gonna say, where do you get the number? Because we have to guesstimate.
Well, 18 was the official number back in January last year. Right. This year, I want to say. I had been told that in April they were around 22, 23, which obviously we could never get verified.
Sure. Yep.
Then Strauss Zelnick in that fireside chat was like, "Oh, aren't we at 30 million?" And then Phil had to like walk him back and be like, "No, our last public number was 18." I think they're probably around 25. That's what I believe.
I'm doing the math for you right now, and your guess is spot on, bro. So I'm going to scratch the surface from Nick's thought process and say, with a 41% year-on-year growth, if you're 18 in January and you go 41% growth over the next year from December, you're right at 25 million. So unless that number changed, could have gone up, could have gone down. Probably went up a little bit with Forza and Halo dropping. So I would say Nick is spot on. 25 to 26 or 7 million could be very, very possible. Either way, the funny thing is Xbox projected these big numbers, and they got really close. I mean, that's still really good. So, that was my super. So we were talking about Fortnite before the show, because I have a 10-year-old son that plays it, and I'm always one of those guys like, Fortnite, everybody makes fun of it, but it's a cool game, does some cool stuff. But I love it. Walked by, and he's playing that sucker on. I gave him my old TCL 6 Series, which I think is a phenomenal $500 TV. Like, it's so great, right? Like, you can't beat it for that price. That TV's hung up on the wall. He's sitting there playing on an Xbox One X, playing with his friends from school, playing Fortnite, and I always walk by and go, "Look at Fortnite." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Geez, that does some cool stuff." He's a Mandalorian. He's running around with the cape.
Yeah,
he's got these cool things. There's crazy stuff going on. I'm like, why do people make fun of this game? It's amazing. But you have some news, or some little birdie news, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, yesterday on my rumor mill, and it's funny, after the rumor mill, there was comments in the chat about what a lame rumor it was. But then today, a couple of the biggest Fortnite Twitter accounts picked up on it, and now it's gotten a little bit more attention. Yeah, I got told that Microsoft were looking to put more of their characters in Fortnite, between Microsoft IP and Bethesda.
Nice.
We've had Master Chief, we've had Marcus and Kate. One that I've been told is supposed to be coming is the Demon Slayer, the Doom Slayer. Which one is it? Is it Demon Slayer or Doom Slayer?
Doom Slayer.
It is Doom Slayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doom Slayer is supposed to be coming to Fortnite. So, yeah, I mentioned I've got a friend. I think he's at Agent Strange or Mr. Agent Strange on Twitter. Massive Doom fan. Has funny Doom memes. Like, the id development team know about him, and I think some of them follow him. And nice. I want to get his name. Hold on. What is it? I don't want it to be wrong. Where is he? Oh yeah, he's at Agent Strange TV. Go and follow him on Twitter. He's a really cool guy. Absolutely obsessed with Doom. I gave him the heads up before my rumor mill. I was like, because he just got into Fortnite. And so I sent him a DM on Discord the other day going, "Mate, you picked a good time to get into Fortnite, because I've been told that the Doom Slayer is coming to Fortnite, which is going to be right up his alley." Mm-hmm. But yeah,
how much I don't want to characters, by the way?
Oh, they're usually around $20, like 20 Australian. Oh, they're so expensive. Like, That's why when I saw all the outrage over Halo's microtransactions and the cosmetic prices, I sort of had a bit of a chuckle to myself because I feel like a lot of these. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these people probably haven't played a lot of free-to-play games. Like, that's what they do. They charge a lot for their cosmetics because you're not paying for the game. Like, that's how they make their money back.
And people buy a Mandalorian costume on Fortnite for two reasons. They want to look cool and different. Yes. And the other reason is I think they want to support the game they love. And they're like, this game's free. $20 is like, thank you for making this game awesome. And most people don't want to hear it, but Fortnite is actually pretty awesome. And I did a session. I played a session with my son. I almost called him my brother. With my son. He's in the other room and I'm in here. And we played like 3 or 4 matches. And he does really great. And the game's just very accessible and fun.
It's super fun. I've played trios with my son and my daughter. And then sometimes one of their cousins will jump in and we'll do squads and we're all chatting and playing and screaming at each other. Fortnite has become like this new... I'm trying to think of our equivalent when we were growing up. So when you and I were growing up at school, you were cool depending on like the sporting card you had, like an NBA card or for us it was footy cards or... What else gave you that cool status at school when we were kids?
I'm trying to think. Like when I was 10 or 12 years old, like the NES was new back then for me.
But gaming wasn't huge back then. Where like
no, you were a nerd for sure. Yeah,
like trading cards were big back then. So if you had certain cards or if you had certain toys, like Ninja Turtle toys or He-Man toys. With Fortnite, like that's now Fortnite amongst kids. Like, I've heard stories of kids getting bullied because they don't have the cool skins that other kids have at school. Like it's full on now with Fortnite. The skins you have is almost like a status symbol amongst kids. Mm-hmm. It's full on. Like I feel like Fortnite and even Forza to a lesser extent, like. Companies now use Fortnite to advertise their IP. I mean, Disney even allowed Spider-Man in there.
And this is why Xbox is bringing in Bethesda characters into
that's Fortnite. And I'd say that's the case. If you looked at the Master Chief timing of when he arrived just before Halo was supposed to come out last year. But then, of course, the delay happened. But, because earlier you were mentioning how you think Microsoft should stop bringing a car onto the stage with Forza, but I don't think they will because the Forza brand now has become big enough where car companies want to advertise their new cars through Forza.
I saw Forza toy cars at Target when I was Christmas shopping. I didn't know those were even around.
Yeah. So I've seen those too, Forza Matchbox cars and stuff.
And then they have like bigger ones that are like semi motorized or whatever. Then they say Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon on them. And then of course it was funny because there's Halo toys and Forza toys at Target. Yeah, and I didn't see Aloy with braidable hair.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just kidding. No, that's right. But that's the thing. Motor companies now or car companies now want to advertise their cars via whether it's Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon, whichever one we're up to at any given time.
Hey Nick, the chat's reminding us about Garbage Pail Kids cards. Did you buy any of those when you were younger?
Oh yeah, I had those. Yes. I did have those. I had all the Simpsons cards. I had those. The Ninja Turtles cards. I had the full sets, and then my mum threw them out. They're like, "You're never going to do anything with them," and she threw them out. They'd be worth a fortune now. See, look, I can't help myself, Colt. I'm going to do it again.
Okay, do it.
Because the super chats drop off. If we don't get to them quick enough, they drop off. Because there's one from earlier that I think we missed.
Okay. Well, I've got a great system.
Before Hargeets. Before Hargeets, there was one that we missed.
Okay. Let's see here. It must have been asking something that you wanted to see.
No, it's dropped off. It's dropped off the chat for me, so now I can't. And I feel bad. I don't want him to.
I got one from Danta, which might be one.
That sounds right. That sounds
okay,
right.
Donataku. Nick's keeping me honest on the show. Now I've got a great producer. We're keeping track of all the super, so everything get answered. So we got Donataku with a $5 says, barring any delays, Nintendo has the most competitive lineup. And I'm not in the know, but he's got this here. Breath of the Wild 2, Bayonetta 3, 3D Kirby, which you mentioned, Splatoon 3, which is massive, Tri-Strategy, Advanced Wars, Xenoblade 3, etc.
I still reckon, you know what, Don? I still reckon we might get Super Mario Odyssey 2 next year too. I reckon we might.
Odyssey 2? Wasn't there already two of them?
No, there was Galaxy 2. There's Galaxy 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, Odyssey. Odyssey came out in 2017, right?
2017. Yeah. Super Mario Odyssey, to this day, in my opinion, still the only deserving 10 out of 10 game.
Really?
From probably the last 10 years. Yeah. It's perfect. It's just a perfect video game.
And that's one of the few games I've played on the Switch. So I put in a couple hours into that game, and then I get totally lost.
That's amazing. I love it.
Cali 486 with the R$5 says, shout out to Brazil. Happy holidays, gents. And here's hoping for 2022 full of great Xbox games. I think he just wished it into existence. I think we're already packed. Lord Starkiller XSX01 with a $20 says, does Microsoft plan to release updated Game Pass sub numbers anytime soon? Also, thanks, Colt, for all your high quality content.
Probably January, I reckon.
They'll wait 1 year from their last report, or do you think they're waiting until they hit that 30 or whatever that they know?
But the problem is they can't guarantee when they're going to hit 30. So I don't know. I feel like they were probably just waiting for Forza and Halo to hit so they could clear maybe 25 comfortably, and then say, "Yep, we're at 25 now."
I would hate to be watching that number because I watch metrics on my channel, and when numbers drop, I'm like, what happened? Oh, okay, they're going. Okay, yeah. You know, somebody behind the scenes going, just watching it kind of. And it all depends on content. When games are great, it starts going up. So that's got to be nerve-wracking.
That's why Microsoft wants one big game per quarter, just to keep the subs there and keep it at a certain level minimum, and then hopefully grow upon it with each new game.
Yeah, look at it.
That is their goal.
This list of 30 games, like, it just depends on how big. Some are like quirky looking games. When I was before the show started, I was doing some research on these names that I'm not familiar with, and a lot of them are like quirky looking little indie games that don't look like something like I would love. But when you get something that really hits and becomes like a surprise hit, then you get that boost. So.
But you need variety. In the end, especially for a sub service, you need that variety. Like, you're not going to keep people subbed if you've only got one or two genres. Like, you need to have that. Like, December 2021 has, for me anyway, has been one of the best months of Game Pass because my son got the Ryan racing game. So, you know, he watches. Good? He loves it. Like, he watches. I mean, it's a terrible game, but he loves it. You know, he watches Ryan on YouTube Kids, and you know, he sees Ryan playing that game, and he's always wanted it, and then all of a sudden, bang! There it is on YouTube. On Game Pass.
Yeah.
The new Paw Patrol game, bang! There it is on Game Pass. Like, it's just it was brilliant. He was so excited that he could just download that Ryan game and just start playing it. He was so excited.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox always gives you like a dozen games every 2 weeks or something, or every month, and they must be thinking a couple kids games, a couple teen games, one serious game, and one big game, right? And then you got it settled. Yeah. Killinitis with the $2 says next year is going to be epic with big game releases. So they're siding with most of what we're saying. Risk It for the Biscuit has a crazy question. I have a number in my head. I'll ask Nick. He says, how long until xCloud makes consoles redundant? What year? What year, Nick?
I don't think it'll ever make them truly redundant.
Let me pad out this question a little bit. How long until game streaming makes consoles not always the go-to? Like more.
Okay, yeah.
Make game streaming more mainstream. How about that?
Yeah. So when does game streaming become the prominent or more dominant form of playing video games? 10 years.
10 years? So 2032 then?
Yeah,
I think that's a good
as
guess.
in the dominant form of playing video games. Just and not because it's not any good. Like I said, playing xCloud on my Xbox actually was really good. Like, and the less intense the game, the better the experience. So I just booted up Banjo-Kazooie because I thought it's something small, it's something old, it's 1080, it's not pushing much, and I legitimately, if you hadn't told me it wasn't native, I wouldn't.
I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of people. Yeah.
If it's just a very simple, chill game, it's basically the same as a native experience.
Just so you guys know what Nick is talking about, there's a lot that goes into when people say graphics and when they're talking about resolution, pixels, and art style, right? It really does make a difference. If he loads up Banjo-Kazooie, and not because it's an old... How about this? If he loads up Super Lucky's Tale and he loads up The Ascent, both games are about the same, developer caliber, right? But The Ascent has so much going on screen, details, shadows, pixels, textures. Those things make a difference when you're streaming that data. So if you take a snapshot of The Ascent, if you take a screenshot, it will be, the PNG will be about 2.5 megabytes, okay? If you take a screenshot full screen of Super Lucky's Tale, it may be 1 megabyte or less than a megabyte because there's smooth textures and when you get rasterization, that's just kind of a technical thing. But when you don't have a lot of little pixels and side by side pixel colors, got all these pixels grouped together. There's less processing. So every time you walk around a Super Lucky's Tale, it doesn't take as much data. As crazy as it sounds. So if I load up The Ascent, it's a very busy looking game on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. That's why Super Lucky's Tale can run at 120 and The Ascent can't. Like it's the same. It's in principle, it's the same thing. So streaming Super Lucky's Tale versus streaming The Ascent's going to be different again, and then streaming Banjo-Kazooie HD again going to be less intensive again. So right now, that's for me personally. This is just for me now. I would be using xCloud for those sorts of experiences. So, I want to play through Banjo-Kazooie. I want to play The Artful Escape. I want to play blah, 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 blah.
The Artful Escape was great.
Yeah, it was really, really good. That's what I would use xCloud for now. I don't think... Yes, I tried Halo Infinite at my parents' just to see how it turned out. I don't think I'd want to do that regularly. But, yeah, it's... Right now, xCloud is essentially being held back by the world's internet infrastructure.
Sure. I mean, and like your parents may not have the right router and the right internet service.
Yeah.
So you said your guess was like 2032 or 2031, like
About
2030s, right? Yeah.
I've
always thought about 2035. When it gets to the point, I've said this so many times, but when it gets to the point where you don't mind not popping into disc with your music or your movies, like streaming just feels like you're getting the full experience. When gaming feels like that, in 10 years, that is not crazy to think about. And I always tell people, don't worry, Nick, like you're not going to miss your console, because if you're at a point where you don't mind syncing up your wireless Xbox or PlayStation controller to your smart TV and playing the games you bought, like if that's cool to you, you won't even miss the console. But I think those will still be available to buy in the future.
Oh, well, look, I mean, streaming of movies and music hasn't meant that people have stopped buying CDs, Blu-rays, and people still buy vinyl. Like,
yeah.
I
don't know why.
Yeah. But they do. People still like. They do. At one of Australia's major retailers, vinyl is still a big market for them.
Sure.
But it's just not the dominant way of playing music and watching movies. That's now done through streaming. Games will get there one day too. I just think it'll take a little bit longer with games, because the thing with music was, unless you're a hardcore audiophile, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between streaming music or playing a CD.
I remember a prominent musician that I really like saying that MP3s sound awful, and I'm like, what? And I was like, and I'm an audio snob, but I downloaded so much music and I had it everywhere I went.
Yeah, me too.
There's like kind of a threshold where you're like, this still sounds amazing. And
Was that musician from Metallica?
No, yeah, anti-Napster. I can't remember who it was, but I remember reading it in like a guitar magazine or something. He said MP3 sound awful, and I'm like, man, am I not being picky enough? But
look, Apple now does
game,
lossless, and I can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. Like, it just sounds the same to me.
Yeah, and running music through an internet cable is a lot easier than running a game,
That's right.
which is holy cow. I mean, games are 100 gigs, so you're asking a lot, but they're making great strides.
They are. They really are.
We got Hargeet Johnny with another one with a $5. He says the TV thing will likely need hardware to allow the controller to connect to the TV. Not sure if TVs have that yet. Now, Hargeet knows a lot about tech, and that's something I haven't thought about. He said maybe we'll see something at CES where Xbox and Microsoft won't make an appearance. But does your TV have Bluetooth? But because the Xbox controller doesn't use Bluetooth, it uses Wi-Fi Direct. Doesn't it?
No. The new ones have Bluetooth as well.
Okay, so I don't know if I haven't really thought about that a whole lot. If your controller will just connect via Bluetooth to this Xbox app, but that will be the future, and I don't want to buy a new TV just yet.
Like Microsoft has grand ambitions for xCloud. Like they want to probably have an Xbox app in hotels. Like, you know how your hotel TV has all that preset stuff. They probably want an Xbox app on those hotel TVs. They probably want future remote controls to come with an Xbox logo on them. So right now, the majority of TV remotes on the market come with like a Netflix button or a YouTube button or an Amazon Prime button. Microsoft would want an Xbox button on those remotes. So you just push the Xbox button, the app starts, your controller syncs, and away you go. I've got no problem with a feature like that.
Here's the biggest problem, though, Nick. The biggest problem with xCloud is majority of the publishers do not want to allow their game to be played outside of the console. Like if I don't know which publishers this. Let's just say Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They have like this. I don't know if this is true, but there are many games that don't go to xCloud because a publisher said, "Look, we sold you the game license to be only played on an Xbox One. This version of the game says it's only allowed to play on an Xbox One console, but then it plays on an Xbox Series S and X, right? So there's some wiggle room. But when Phil and Sarah Bond are saying, "Hey, we want to be able to like put your game on xCloud and people can play it on their TV or their tablet or their Kindle or the browser," and then the publisher's like, "Whoa! We didn't say you could put this game everywhere. You sold you that license for that one place." What kind is there? There's got to be some kind of shift in the industry where they relax and say, "Look, expand," or is there like this legalese that's tying that up? Because right now, Xbox can only put Game Pass titles. They've kind of worked that deal in where when Atomic Heart comes to Game Pass, it can be played on any device that Game Pass exists.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I think going forward, probably with PlayStation as well, not just Xbox, I think part of the licensing agreement will probably start to include streaming going forward. And I mean, if you're a game that relies on monetization and engagement, it's a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you allow your game to be played on the go?
Yeah.
Like, it just seems to be going against what you want. Like, if you rely on microtransactions and you rely on people playing your game constantly, why wouldn't you want them to be able to play it literally wherever they go? Even if the experience is hampered a little bit, that's not your fault or your developer's fault. That's the fault of the infrastructure. That's the fault of Xbox's platform. It's not yours. So, but you still want to give those people the opportunity to play the game as much as they want to play it. I don't know.
Yeah, it sort of ruins that opportunity to sell the game on PlayStation and then sell it on Steam and then the same game, right? Maybe there's some of that. That has to shift. Maybe. That has to be a paradigm shift. And I think that's another reason why Xbox is leading the way. They're leading the industry in a way that helps out consumers. Like, this is something we want. And I think it was Albert Pinello who told me you have to get out of the way and let technology move forward. Don't gatekeep it. Don't make up rules. allow things to happen. We've got Lord Starkiller who says, have played quite a few games using cloud gaming on my PC, Series X, and Razer Kishi. I have one of those too. Games like Halo Infinite, The Ascent, Psychonauts 2 play great across all platforms. Did you hear that today Digital Foundry gave Psychonauts 2 their game of the year?
Yeah, John Lindemann. Psychonauts 2 was his game of the year, which, funnily enough, Digital Foundry did not do a breakdown of Psychonauts 2. It was one of the only big name. No, they did not.
And it had like a full Series X patch, but a PS4 version was on the PS5. That is interesting. They didn't do a whole analysis, huh? No,
it's pretty much the only major game that didn't get a Digital Foundry breakdown. So it was funny to see it get John's game of the year.
It's John's wheelhouse too, those games. Like, he loves those type of games. They're some of his favorites. Yeah. He's such a retro gamer as well, and Psychonauts 2 scratch that itch, but that's such a good game. That totally shocked me.
It is. I need to go back to that as well.
You still have to finish it, huh?
Too. Yeah.
It just gets better.
Another one
in
the backlog.
Yeah. Risky for the Biscuit with a £5 says, there's just the ring in Halo Infinite. It's in space. It can go to other planets as well. There's so much more they can do with the story and game. There was a couple things I was disappointed that were missing from Halo Infinite, and I wanted a mech at some point, like you do in Halo 4.
Like
that would have
been cool.
Yeah, the Mantis. And I would have liked to have some space combat like they didn't Reach, but I know it's asking a lot. They did quite a bit in Halo Infinite.
They can edit. They can always edit.
It's always, they got the structure there. Hargy Johnny with $5 says, if it feels like a chore, is it worth playing the game? Also, you don't have to worry about playing for a short time with quick resume. I think he goes back to you playing online.
Yeah.
Jeez, my kid has an Xbox One X, and I was helping them with loading up a game. I could not believe, Nick, how long it takes to launch a game on the One X. Oh my gosh.
It's painful. It's
so bad. And I was probably only standing there for maybe a minute from launch until I got all the way into the save and loaded into the world. It was the longest minute of my life.
you know what took so much longer than I remember, to the point where I thought my daughter's 1S was broken. So I bought the Minecraft 1S for my daughter. It's now packed away because we now have Series S's. But I turned it off because I wanted to clean it. As I do all my consoles, I give them a good dust. Then I've got the air blower thing, and I get all the dust out of them, clean them, vacuum them, the whole lot. And when I plugged it back in and turned it on, I couldn't believe how long the cold boot took on the 1S. I thought it was broken. It took that long to cold boot. Like the Series X and S, cold boot, not quick, not instant on. Cold boot is only like 15-20 seconds.
Yeah.
Cold boot. The 1S, oh my god, it's like over
you got that green screen that says Xbox One that lasts like just a couple minutes.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we're really lucky. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, they're outstanding. Thank you, Yodani Quizada, for the $5. He said, picture this. You've got the Charlotte Hornets starter jacket, tube full of holographic pogs, and a sawtooth slammer in your pocket. Life is good. That must be some like ultra 90s.
Don't you remember pogs?
No, I'm a little bit older than you. I know what pogs are, but I had nothing to do with them. I didn't learn about them till people were done with them.
I had
They're little
pogs,
plastic chips, right? Or little paper chips.
See, I was big into my NBA cards back in the 90s. Like that's when I got into the NBA because of Michael Jordan.
Late 80s, I was into baseball cards and a little bit of basketball cards. Yeah.
Australia doesn't care about baseball. We have cricket here,
right?
But we still love the NBA down here. So we were big into the NBA cards. And, we had this other thing. And I'm fairly confident this is exclusively Australian, but I'll ask anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. So with our footy cards, you could trade them, do whatever. But sometimes what we would do is you would have to compete for cards instead of trading them. And the way you would compete is you'd take your card and you'd flick it against the wall. And whoever's card got closest to the wall won and took the other guy's card.
Jeez. That's risky for some great cards.
It was full on. It was great. I used to have a lot of fun doing stuff like that. It
bend
must
the
have been an
corners.
Australian thing. Must have been an Australian thing.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That's crazy. Somebody wants me to ask you about Friends. What do you think if we can get Jennifer Aniston to co-guest on the show with you sometime?
I'd love to have Jennifer Aniston. I want to marry her so much. And my wife's okay with it too. My wife's totally okay if I marry Jennifer Aniston.
Just as long as you guys get to share a boat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Amazing.
Thank you, Robert Hendricks, for the $5. Says New Year's resolution: 343 allows Xbox gamers to opt out of crossplay. Fiesta 3 matches played before the show all had cheaters. So I've said a lot about the crossplay thing, and as far as I know, Halo Infinite allows you to opt out of crossplay on most modes, but not all modes. Am I correct, Nick?
Not ranked. Ranked you have to, yeah, which is unfortunate. Yeah, look, the thing is, it's hard. I don't know enough to know when I'm dealing with a cheater, when I'm dealing with just bad ping, when I'm dealing with desync issues, when I'm dealing with the
match.
tick rate. But the problem is, Halo Infinite has all of them. So, the game doesn't deal well with high ping like others do. It also has desync issues. It also has a really low tick rate, like 24 or something. It's also got the cheaters on PC, the aim botters, it's all in there mixed together, and it can make the experience really bad for people. It's unfortunate, but I think they need to, they need to find a way, or just let us opt out of crossplay.
Now, is 343 having problems getting lobbies full with crossplay turned off? Is that why they're doing it?
I don't know. Not too sure.
Because matchmaking is super fast as it is. Like, you don't wait very long for matches. From all the time I've spent in there, like, you've been able to get into your matches right away. Matches start, you play, and you go. But if you
don't wait long, you don't wait long to find a match, but you do wait long to get into a match because of all the Xbox One players still playing.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
You wait for them to load in because they're still on a hard drive.
With their rusty, dusty hard drives.
Yeah. But you do tend to find matches very, very quickly.
Okay.
It's just getting into them can take a little while.
So, yeah. And I know that 343 is listening, and David Ellis has been pretty vocal and transparent on Twitter about they're listening to those things and they're working. I think there's just some things that 343 can't just turn on and off like a faucet. Other stuff doesn't work. So it sucks. It needs to be fixed. And I hope they're listening and working on it. But the reality is right now, the team is probably not busting their butt on patches. They're on a little bit of a Christmas break. But you launched the game at Christmas. It was terrible timing. Yeah. So we were talking about Xbox expanded PC earlier, and they actually hold number 3, number 6, number 3, number 5, and number 7 top sold games on Steam.
Yeah.
Did you look at that? You know which games they are?
Yeah. Sea of Thieves, I want to say, is still one of them. Forza, Halo.
I don't think Sea of Thieves was in
Isn't
there,
it?
but Halo was number 3.
Sea of Thieves, I'm thinking of, they crossed the milestone, 5 million sales on Steam.
I mean, Sea of Thieves has been on the top Steam charts a lot. I don't think they're on right now for December, but Halo Infinite's number third highest selling on Steam.
Forza.
Forza Horizon 5, right? Number 5. Yep. And number 7 is, I've never played it, Age of Empires 4. So
Age.
People are loving that on PC. So
I keep forgetting about that game. I don't know why. It's probably because I don't play it. And we it's funny, we've had Adam Icegreen twice on our podcast. Adam is awesome. But yeah, people forget stuff like Age and how big it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Age is doing well.
Dang, yeah, that's shout out to Xbox for putting their games on PC and making the console irrelevant. That's so funny.
Well, PlayStation is now too.
They will. And I think we're going to hear a lot more in 2022. I think they've been really carefully bringing that news. And
Well, I mean, they've literally bought a couple of PC port studios. Like, they're not doing that to not. I mean, look, Rand was saying it a long time ago. We were saying it a long time ago. Eventually, Sony's just going to put everything on PC. Like, they're not. They pretty much won't be any different. Like, Sony's in a difficult position because they lean very, 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 very heavily into that traditional console market. It's very successful for them. They're also very good. They're also very good at stoking the console wars, and they use that to their advantage as the market leader. They've always been great at it, and I say that as a compliment. I say it as a compliment. They're brilliant at really getting that fervent fan base that defends everything they do and loves everything they do and blah, 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 blah. So they're now in a difficult position because they've backed themselves into a corner a little bit. So
because the PS5 is not readily available. That is one of the big
That's
problems.
one factor. There's the fact that there's one type of game that they're known for and are famous for and are successful with. But those games cost a lot of money to make. That's right. They take a long time and they cost a buttload of money to make. They can't do that forever, as Microsoft discovered. Because it's funny, Microsoft were just like Sony before Sony was. Like, Microsoft used to run, there was a book all about it called the Blockbuster Theory or something like that. And you pivot around your tent poles and everything is built around your tent poles, but that can't last forever, as Microsoft discovered.
Yeah.
And Sony luckily aren't going to let themselves probably collapse like Microsoft did. They're going to probably pivot just in time before that floor comes out from under them.
Well, how long until I have two controversial things to say. One thing, as I said it in the safety of a party chat on Xbox Live today, that I was talking to Hargeet and Tim Dog, and I said that, going back to what you said a few minutes ago, that PlayStation harbors this thing with their fans where it's acceptable and normal for their fans to lash out and go, we have this. And we have this, and this is our dominance, and we have this game. Like, they use the we thing, right? And they sort of PlayStation does this thing, like they use the console war to their advantage, and they do it very well. And then their a certain amount of their fans like get up next to them and rub shoulders with them, like the big dog and the little dog, and that can be very irritating online. The other thing I want to say is, Nick, how long until the tried and true formula of the third person over the shoulder, very adult and mature, semi-open world, stealth-based action game, right? How long until that becomes passé? Because we saw it with Days Gone, which I think is a phenomenal game, but people you just kind of did The Last of Us half. It's The Last of Us Uncharted mix is kind of the thing I got with Days Gone. I love the game. But it didn't.
God, that's another game I have to go back to. Days Gone.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying.
It kind of wore on their fans. Like, I just feel like I'm playing, this type of paint by numbers PlayStation game, and I thought it was great. I would have loved Xbox to make something like that, but they do. They do other things in the zombie realm much better than Benja's studio does. But
maybe State of Decay 3 will be that.
Somewhere.
But
in
who
there,
knows?
Right?
Like, the trends come and go. I suspect. I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. I suspect that while those games continue to get given Game of the Year awards,
absolutely, yeah,
they will probably still be in vogue. Like, I don't know. Me, I'm kind of over it a little bit. It just feels like the same thing in a different skin to me. And that's probably reflected in the games I played. One is a game that's based around soccer with cars. Another one is Superman fighting against Spider-Man on an island where they build buildings against each other and shoot each other. There's probably no better example of how much I'm over one type of game than the games I do play. But Sony, you can see it already in their hirings, in their acquisitions. They're slowly behind the scenes realizing that, look, this isn't sustainable. We're not going to be able to keep spending all this money, taking 5-6 years to make these games. Yes, they're amazing games, but they're not making as much money as these games over here, which are costing a fraction to make and less time.
Yeah.
So Sony will start to pivot towards multiplayer stuff, towards games as a service stuff. Yes, it will never be their bread and butter in terms of what they're putting out, but they need that stuff to support the tent poles. They need it there.
PlayStation's those games like we're describing, those PlayStation games, they sell really well, but hasn't Jim Ryan basically admitted that it's not sustainable? Like they're not selling enough. They're obviously making plenty of money, but I think in the whole model across the whole platform and PlayStation, they need to be making a lot more money to continue to crank out games. Like this is why Xbox has pushed PlayStation to buy more studios. They bought 5 or 6 in the past year, while Xbox has only bought Bethesda, right? Mm-hmm. So they're getting close in studio sizes, and Jim Ryan wants to put their games on PC so that they can buy more. They need to be able to
make
buy
more money back.
More studios, yes, so that more studios can make another game like God of War.
That's right.
Instead of just Sony Santa Monica, they need another studio that can do something of that caliber. Instead of making their PlayStation fans wait, because what happened in the PS4 era is they killed it, but they put out like 8 incredible games over 8 to 10 years, and they got 1 per year, which is plenty. But if you're somebody who fires on having to have exclusives, you're waiting a year for a big game, and then you're waiting again.
But again, that's why I said before, they bought support studios. So they've bought studios to help get those games out faster. So they're not only releasing 1 or 2 a year, they can maybe get more out. But to me, everything we're talking about, doesn't that just mean that Game Pass makes even more sense for PlayStation? So right now, they need to get... as they've said, that it's probably not as sustainable to just do those super expensive tentpole games, because Sony's games sell well, or at least some of them do, but even the best-selling ones don't do Nintendo numbers.
That's weird.
And Nintendo's games cost a fraction of the amount to develop that Sony's do.
I never thought about that, but...
Nintendo's games don't cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. No, not even close to that. Yet they do sell 20, 25, 30, 35 million
you
copies.
Want to make money, Xbox and PlayStation need to make an Animal Crossing, and they need to make a Roblox.
Viva Pinata. Viva Pinata is their Animal Crossing. It's sitting right there, and they're not...
But Rare doesn't want to take over their... Rare doesn't want to rehash their old IPs. They want to move
give
forward.
It to someone else. Just do what they did with Killer Instinct. Just give it to someone else and let someone else make it. Microsoft doesn't realize that
they do have brand power,
Yeah, they've got more brand power than they realize. Like, Banjo-Kazooie is still... like him or love him, like him or hate him, Banjo-Kazooie is still a massive name in terms of mascots / platformers / whatever you want to say.
I don't understand it, but I'll accept it. Yeah.
I would argue Banjo is up there in the... Not up with Mario and Sonic, but he's the next rung down from Mario and Sonic. Like, Banjo was huge on Nintendo 64. And that's a mascot that even Sony doesn't have. Sony doesn't really have they had Crash, and they gave him up to Activision. Jack, I love Jack and Daxter. But Naughty Dog doesn't want to go back to Jack and Daxter. Now they've got their, brunette white dudes in all their games. That's what they... That's well, hold on. What's Drake? What's Joel? That's what they do. That's what Sony does. That's their thing. It's good that they're slowly.
Gosh.
You know, we
Hey,
have Aloy
Uncharted
now.
5. What about Uncharted 5 as Nathan's daughter as the lead? That could be huge.
Well, yeah, she's there. She's a character, isn't she? She was in Uncharted 4.
Yeah, she's at the end. So like it's only.
But it's good. They've got
the next
Aloy,
move.
and they've got Nadine, and they've got some others, and Ellie and Abby. But of all those characters, though, the only one that feels like it could become someone or something iconic is maybe Aloy. Maybe.
I mean, Aloy is kind of becoming a PlayStation mascot for sure.
Yeah.
Like they can put her in a group of images of characters, and it screams PlayStation. I want to talk about a surprise game that's coming to Xbox, possibly at the end of the year, that we didn't see coming, or maybe it was rumored. There's a couple of them, but first I want to. You got me thinking about this Bloomberg article that we were talking about pre-show. We were having some laughs, and I think we could do this properly and was a little bit of fun. But the Bloomberg article stated that because of Horizon Forbidden West and PlayStation with Aloy, they finally brought a female character into the strong, powerful lead character that represents something more than just a sex object. And you and I both saw this article and went, it's been happening for a long time.
I didn't read the article. I didn't get a chance to read it. I just saw the tweet thread of it, and I don't know. It was a bit.
But you
weird,
perused through the article, and you said it sounded more like an excuse to be excited about Horizon Forbidden West coming up.
Yeah, just based on the tweet thread I saw. I need to read the actual article itself, but based on
who reads anymore when you have the headline, right?
Yeah, based on the tweet thread I saw, it just felt like an ad for Horizon Forbidden West wrapped in, I don't know, gender and sexism issues.
Sure.
Which is a bit weird. Like, we've had strong female characters in video games for years and years and years. Like, it's not... Horizon Zero Dawn
for like 10 years, it's been... that trope has kind of disappeared, where it's got to be the rough and tumble, white brunette guy with some stubble, right? That looks like you and I. But
that's right.
We both shook our heads. Like, Xbox is about to lead with Joanna Dark and Perfect Dark. They just led with Kate Diaz, who played a great character in Gears 5. Yeah. They're leading with Senua. It was absolutely incredible in Senua's Saga, and now Senua's Sacrifice from 2017, 2018. So
even Lara Croft, though, like,
yes, of course,
Lara Croft started, because remember, Tomb Raider started in the late 90s. So video games back in the late 90s were still a boys' club. All female characters were very sexualized. Right. Lara had her pointy boobs. That what she did. That's how it was.
Two pyramids. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But once, like, Lara was modernized and she was desexualized, and she's been a strong female character for close to a decade or more now.
Yeah, 9 years.
Yeah, it was just a bit weird. Like, it just felt like an ad for Horizon under the guise of sex and gender issues. I don't know. It was just...
I mean, they made a big deal about Femme Shepherd for Mass Effect 3. Like, they noticed a big trend of a lot of people playing as the default Femme Shepherd, and of course everyone says that Jennifer... Oh my gosh. I forgot her last name. Oh my gosh, she's on every game.
On every game. Jennifer Hale?
Jennifer Hale's voice. Sorry, just like so I space it. She's like, they preferred her voice acting over Mark's from Mass Effect series. So like, this has been a thing. Female characters, and I got thinking about it because I said Joanna Dark, Kate Diaz, and Senua are like big out front characters. You got State of Decay 3. Somebody laughed at us in the chat, Nick, and said, thank you for fixing Jennifer Hale. They were laughing at us about State of Decay 3, like it's not going to be incredible. Like, Undead Labs is amazing. Please check in what that team's done. They've doubled in size. Their lead character in the trailer is a female. Have you noticed this? If you look back at some of the trailers we've seen over the past couple of years, a lot of female leads. Redfall. Yeah, Redfall has a strong I think that female is one of the lead characters, is out in front in most of the stuff. There's a whole bunch. It's been
State of Decay.
State of Decay 3.
But Microsoft has always been present in that space, like Cameo, female lead, obviously Perfect Dark. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Microsoft's been there a long time. It's not
Wonder Woman game,
new.
they said. Yeah, Mark Anderson said don't forget about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. So it's
I think it was the article's a bit late, don't you, Nick? Like, it's a little bit late to make that claim. Like, I think there's numbers. Isn't there a number like almost 50% of the gamers now are females, and like they're in the community, they're so prominent. Like, and then you see, guys giving a girl a hard time in Halo Infinite multiplayer.
I need to read the article. I just wonder if it was more about. I wonder if the article was probably more about in behind the scenes, like within the development studios, maybe. But then at the same time, in the tweet thread, it talks about strong female characters. That's why I need to read it to know exactly what he's talking about. But then I look at the timing of it. We're like, a month and a half away from Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah. I look at who wrote it.
And it's not it's not like PlayStation is making new strides as themselves, because they've had strong female characters for a while. Ellie and Abby were massive tentpole characters for the platform. So they're doing that really well. And of course, you have the Uncharted series. Like, Nathan Drake was always in most of the games. Yeah. He was always working alongside a woman who's faster than him and better.
Yeah.
Maybe not as funny as Nathan Drake. He's great, but that's interesting. So there are a couple games that are surprise reveals. There's this talk that's been going around, Nick, about Xbox has 2 unannounced games that are supposed to release 2022. I think I might know what they could be, but I think one of them is. Well, 2 of them, of my guesses, seem a little far-fetched. I'm going to run them by you.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible that we are going to see, or soon, for Indiana Jones from Machine Games? That one I'm not very sure on.
Because, all we essentially got was like a title. We got a nothing.
A typewriter and a hat.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if... So, hold on. Were you saying as in surprise announcements, as in a surprise that it could release in 2022? Or are you just saying...
I can't remember where we heard this, but the words were Xbox has 2 unannounced games that are coming in 2022. I just don't think Indiana Jones is coming, but there's 2 things from Machine Games. The other one is it's possible that at E3 we'll see Wolfenstein 3, and it will be ready to come out at the end of the year. How possible is that? Because we haven't heard anything. I don't think so.
Yeah, all they've said is that Wolfenstein 3 will happen at some point. They didn't say that it's in development. They didn't officially announce it. I think they just alluded to the fact that it will happen at some point. As you know, I had been told a little while back that there was going to be a Quake reboot that Machine Games was involved in.
So busy then.
That's what I mean. So if that's the case, if they're doing indie and helping out or doing the Quake reboot, then I don't think that would leave much room for Wolfenstein.
So one is probably Josh Sawyer's like dialogue-driven adventure game, and the other one could be, do you think In Exile's steampunk RPG could be?
Oh, what about Compulsions?
Compulsion sounds like they're ready. There's so many studios.
What about Hellblade? Crazy. Could Hellblade sneak in?
Well, Hellblade's been announced, but well,
hold on. It's been announced, and we've also got a gameplay trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So could Hellblade sneak in? Possibly.
I mean, you got a massive holiday on Xbox if you're trying to release Forza Motorsport, whatever it is. I think it's holiday, right? So you got Forza Motorsport and then Starfield, and then if you're trying to shoehorn in one more game, like what could it be? That's the crazy. Hit the like if you guys are watching the show. You guys are amazing. I'm watching the chat, trying to keep an eye on it. Nick, I'm here with Nick from Xbox Era on the XNC podcast. This is Xbox Era and XNC collaboration, so I'm really happy to be here. We're almost finished up here, but if you enjoyed the show, let's get the likes to 500 to show that you enjoy what we're doing. And those likes make it all the way to Australia and back. So see if you can do that. But
it's got a long way to go.
I got a couple super chats here. We got to talk about these two unannounced games. DJ says you can turn off cross network play at the system level. Thank you so much for the $5. He says in the Xbox settings, but then no games have cross network at that point. So yeah, I would absolutely not recommend turning something off in the dashboard and then have to go back and forth and fix it per game. 343 needs to fix it at the game level. Danny Passion Official, thank you for the $5. He says I'm playing remotely on Xbox Series X while the wife watches TV, but since the X is in the same room, I just keep the controller connected to the console and it feels fire. So that's so cool. Fortunately, like I just play right here when I want to play. Cade Forever, thank you for the $5. He says 2 Point Studios is primed and ready to make Viva Pinata, but it needs to be free to play and built for both console, PC, and touchscreen. What's 2 Point Studios?
The 2 Point Hospital. The developer of 2 Point Hospital.
Oh, okay. Why would they be primed and ready to take over Viva Pinata? I want like a massive thing, like the way that my kids look at Animal Crossing, where they can just play forever.
Yep. Well,
like
I mean,
you can see it.
You have a garden, and people can come into your garden just like people can come to your island in Animal Crossing. Like it's cool. Already there, and you can, if you make it free to play, you can sell cosmetics and you can sell garden ornaments, and you can it's that they need to go back to it. It's a concept that is ready for 2021, for this gaming world. It's just, and it was such a good game, and it was visually stunning, and you got to put it on everything. Put it on console, PC, mobile, tablet, on everything. Like my kid needs to be able to start it on Xbox, shut down his Xbox, pick it up on his iPad, and keep playing it there. Like that's the sort of game Viva Pinata needs to be.
I mean, the customization when my kids go into their house and they show me the wallpaper, the furniture, the clothing, like the endless customization. There's certain types of people who can't get enough of that. Xbox seems like a runaway hit with that. Okay.
They need to.
That's crazy. Viva Pinata. Yeah, let's keep that on just keep asking.
Because you're mentioning the unannounced games for 2022. I predicted on our show that I think something that will get announced that's an unannounced for 2022, I think we will get a remake. I think we'll get a remake or remaster of an old game. Microsoft hasn't done that a lot, and I reckon they're going to do it next year.
Oh, I took so much heat for that the other day, Nick. I said on Twitter, I said PlayStation's killing it with these ports and remasters and DLC expansions for games that we already played. And that's what bolstered their I think it was one of those console war tweets, Nick, where somebody said, look at how many games PlayStation had this year and Xbox only had this. Well, everyone knows who's paying attention that Xbox offered more than PlayStation by a couple games, right? It was a great head-to-head outing in 2021. But some PlayStation guy was bolstering up that list with Ghost of Tsushima remaster and Director's Cut, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and Uncharted 4.
I'm talking tapping into old IP, and this is another conundrum. That's right. That's a conundrum that Sony is in. Sony, because anyone who's old enough, anyone who had a PlayStation 1, who had a PlayStation 2, will know that the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 were third-party machines. Like, Sony's first party during those generations wasn't what it is now. Sony's first party really became strong with the PlayStation 3. That's where we got Uncharted. That's where we got Last of Us. That's where we got awesome stuff like Loco Roco. That's where we got cool stuff like The Puppeteer.
Infamous was great.
Yeah, Infamous. That it all started on the PlayStation 3. Prior to that, Sony was just money-heading everything and got...
They still are.
So Sony doesn't have the same level of nostalgic IP that Microsoft, Nintendo, and even Sega have. So when I say remaster, remake, I'm talking about tapping into that real old stuff. I'm not talking about charging people twice for a game in a year. I'm talking about tapping into old stuff. Like Sony has at least one that everyone loves, like Jak and Daxter, and yet they're not doing it.
Now, is this a wish list from like you think what's a deficit that's missing, or are you starting to hear people talk about something that needs to be done?
Well, I don't think Microsoft. I think Microsoft has always had a problem not tapping into their old IPs, and they've got even through Rare alone, they have a treasure trove of old IP just through Rare. Forget their own, just through Rare, and I just don't think they tap into that enough. Like I said, Banjo is a massive name. Like if they did a Banjo remake on the scale of Crash's remake and Spyro's remake and those proper remakes that they do, I think it would be massive. Banjo, I think it would be absolutely huge.
I mean, people know I'm like anti-Banjo, but I would love a modern Banjo with great controls like you would get in Sackboy Big Adventure. Like those controls are so great, but I want a Banjo world I can discover. I don't want like insane what's it called, Crash Bandicoot Nitro, what's it called, the fourth one? Not Nitro, that's the racing game. The fourth Banjo that's multiplat came out like 2 years ago. I played a bunch of it, but it's basically
Crash 4. It's Crash 4.
Yeah, it's just called Crash Bandicoot 4, right? Like I played a bunch of that, and that's like, oh, this is like a really nice looking PlayStation 1 game because it feels good, it looks great, but I want a Banjo. You got to win me over. Like give me a world to go through and explore. And you sort of do that in the first Banjo, right? You have these levels.
You do.
I don't want a bunch of levels like you go through, a bunch of quick levels that you have to conquer like you do in Crash 4.
What everyone seems to do now is they remake or remaster the original as they test the water to see how much love there is for the IP.
Who's doing that right now? Somebody's doing that right now.
Alan Wake. We got
I
Alan
didn't
Wake
even talk about it. It was in the list. We were going to talk about Splinter Cell. Like that's the same thing, right? You go back, you get your team honed in, you get true to Splinter Cell with this remake, and then after the game makes a bunch of money and you release, you're like, okay, we're ready. We know we've got it. Let's build the next Splinter Cell.
I think with Splinter Cell, it's a little bit different. Like I had heard rumblings about Splinter Cell for a long time, and the one thing I had heard consistently was that they don't know what to do with it. And it's in trouble, or they've cancelled it and they've rebooted it again, or I've heard all sorts of stories about Splinter Cell. My suspicion is that this remake is a very last minute decision. The reason I think that is because why the hell didn't they announce it at the Game Awards? They announced it like a few days later.
It was like in a tweet or something.
Why wouldn't you use the Game Awards to announce it? B, it's the first time that in history that I personally, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, anyone else, but for me personally, it's the first time in history I have seen almost any game, let alone a major IP like Splinter Cell, where the reveal trailer is like, we're hiring for this, come work for us.
Interesting.
I have never seen that ever in my life. Like Indiana Jones, when that was teased, that was probably the same thing. We're doing Indiana Jones, come work for us. But they didn't say it in the teaser. Like, with Splinter Cell, they literally said it in the teaser. So, those two things combined make me think that this remake was a very last-minute decision because they don't know what to do with the new Splinter Cell game.
They haven't even been to the whiteboard yet, Nick?
Ubisoft probably wants it to be an open-world games-as-a-service thing. They can see the pushback in the public for that. So they're like, you know what? We'll remake the first one, which is linear, single-player, stealth-based action game. You can hone the Snowdrop engine
or whatever. I can't remember. Unreal? What was the...
Snowdrop. It's Snowdrop.
Yeah, you can hone the Snowdrop. You can make the game true to what it is, right? But you can make it look outstanding. You can get feel and everything right. And
because remember...
Then the team's ready to go.
But Ubisoft is still smarting from Blacklist. So you have to understand how, like, it's... To me, it just reeks of corporate thought processes, right? So in Ubisoft's eyes, in Ubisoft corporate's eyes, they were like, we gave you what you wanted. We gave you a single-player linear Splinter Cell game in 2013, Blacklist, and none of you liked it and none of you bought it.
it was too derivative of the great Conviction. Like, I love Conviction. I played it twice.
See, I loved Conviction as well. And most
Yeah.
people don't like Conviction, but I actually loved Conviction.
I love it, but
I
I
thought
feel
it
like
was great.
Blacklist was just you
haven't
got rid
played
of
it
Michael
yet.
Ironside and you just paint by
yeah.
numbers of what made Conviction great.
So
that should have been a good formula though. But
That's
I
right.
got to look this up. Like,
But
did,
in Ubisoft's eyes, they're like, we gave you what you wanted and you didn't buy it. All our games as a service
rated
stuff.
well, but it sold horribly.
Yeah. So all our games as a service stuff is selling really well and making a lot of money. So if we're going to do Splinter Cell, we're going to do it like all the rest of our stuff. And we're going to make it games as a service so it can make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But they can see that people don't want it. So they're in this weird position where it's like, but we have this data that shows us this way makes money. But you're all crying for this. So I think that they've decided on this remake as a last minute decision. And they're going to be like, you know what? If you want a new proper Splinter Cell game, vote with your wallet and buy this remake. That's just what I think has gone on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
because
I can imagine that for sure.
Because I had been told that Ubi doesn't know what to do with this game. They want it to be like an open world-ish, even multiplayer type thing. That's what Ubisoft would like. But they probably are aware that that's not what
they showed that
all of us want.
first person Division style free to play shooter, and everyone, you know,
Yeah.
they have to be really
No one
careful
wanted it.
because they're so talented. Man, they got to
Yeah.
make something incredible. They really do.
That's just what I think is happening personally with Splinter Cell. Because everything about that announcement just seemed so rushed and last minute. Like,
yeah.
you know, for years, all of us, I think I've heard you say it. I know Rand has said it. You know, everyone's been like, how cool would it be at E3 or some sort of game show? Everything goes quiet, and then you see the
Rand
green
said
lights.
Yeah.
And you hear and you see the green lights. Everyone has said it. And
We
then
didn't get that. We got like a tweet or a.
That's right.
a
They
press
had the
release.
chance to do it at the Game Awards, and they didn't take it. And that's just what makes me think that this is very last minute. It's
I
just
think you're onto something. Yeah, they decided they needed to make a move, and
they're
maybe
asking
Ubisoft
everyone to
wasn't-
vote with their wallet.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, there's.
That's what I think.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, and that does go in line with Xbox needed to revive some of their IPs. There's a lot that,
Yeah.
you know, what we talked about at the beginning of the show about how I wasn't in the Xbox when it launched, so I missed things like Cameo and Lost Odyssey and Crimson Skies. Like those are foreign to me, and Banjo, and I played Viva Pinata a little bit on the 360. I could see the charm there. So,
That's great.
yeah, there's all those rare games that I think I played GoldenEye. I played Donkey Kong Country, but the team has been evolved and they want new things. So
That's right. But that's what third-party relationships are for. Like, you know, Sony is very successful with Ratchet and Clank. Microsoft has an IP that they can turn into their own Ratchet and Clank, and yet they're not doing it. And that's Jet Force Gemini.
oh my
Jet
god,
Force Gemini is begging to come back as a Ratchet and Clank clone. And this is what I mean. Microsoft's in this unique position where they have all these IPs that they can counter just about anyone with, even Nintendo. Banjo's up there with Mario and Sonic. Not on the exact same level, but again, he's the next biggest after them. Sony keeps trying with Sackboy.
I love Sackboy Big Adventure so much.
Yeah, so do I. It's a really, really good game.
So good. Nobody talks about it.
But as a character, as an icon, he's not sticking. He's just not sticking for whatever reason. So that's one of Sony's weaknesses. They just don't have those nostalgic IPs to lean on. Microsoft does, and they don't use them.
There is one I didn't expect to kind of bring it up in the topics, but like Xbox has this buying power where they can stay neck and neck or lead ahead of PlayStation, because you were talking about all these third-party deals. Xbox has 23 studios. They're partnering right now with 4 or 5, maybe more third-party studios, probably way more.
And I'm sure they'll acquire some more.
Right. So like if you're saying like if Nick from Xbox era has a dream that Viva Pinata or Banjo needs to be remade, Xbox can do that without even like missing a step. They can go grab any amazing talented studio and get them directed into Banjo or Viva Pinata. This comes up with, there was a little bit of muscle flexing on social media this week about market cap and buying power and who has more what was the money they call it, out of pocket, what's the cash in hand, this cash in hand thing. And the gaming market cap, if you look at Microsoft versus Sony, puts Microsoft obviously way up in first place and Sony in third place. But when you look at the gaming revenue and buying power with just PlayStation versus Xbox is like halfway behind PlayStation. But I don't know, like you see these people who are doing like their armchair analysts, they're all of a sudden they're Leonardo DiCaprio and Wolf on Wall Street. And they're fighting on Twitter, and I just kind of hang back and go, this discussion is way above your pay grade. I'm not even going to pretend like I know what's going on. But somebody said, Nick, that when Satya Nadella says we're all in gaming, I can't remember who said this, but the industry is about to be disrupted because Microsoft is the juggernaut. Like they own in the trillions in buying power, and PlayStation or Sony's in the billions with TVs and Discmans and PlayStation's master.
Discmans. Oh my God. Discmans. I'm surprised you didn't say mini disc players.
My brother had a mini disc player. Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah. I never even got into him, and he had to keep it on his leg so it wouldn't skip. Because only had like 3 seconds of skip memory. The old days. But
Man,
I mean,
kids will never know.
They'll never know. But yeah, there is massive buying power with Xbox because
there is.
They can. I think at this point that if Sarah Bond and Matt Booty and Phil Spencer say, look, the voices are asking for Banjo or they're asking for Viva or they're asking for something else, that it really comes down to who are you going to have do it, because definitely that funding is
Rare doesn't want to do
it. Rare does not want to do it. And I think this goes into Hargeet Chani's super chat. Thank you so much, Hargeet, for $10. He says Double Fine gave us a great sequel to an old IP. He's talking about Psychonauts 2. He said, I can't wait for their next game. Multiple in development. They're working on a multiplayer game with Xbox's budget. If Xbox does a Banjo game and isn't up to par with Mario Odyssey, it's not worth it. We were talking about that pre-show, weren't we, Nick, about Mario Odyssey. Like, could Banjo aspire to a Mario Odyssey greatness?
It could, but you've just got to find the right developer for it. Like, and that's why I think what Microsoft would do is they'd do a Banjo remake first, and if that gets a ton of love,
10 years to get like your true Banjo sequel.
But that's the thing, Nuts and Bolts didn't do very well. It's not what people wanted from a third Banjo game. So what I suspect is Microsoft would do a Banjo remake first, see how that does. And if there's a lot of love for it, and if it does well, and it's downloaded heaps on Game Pass, blah, 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 then they will greenlight a third Banjo to be done by, I don't know, whoever would do it. Whether that's a first-party studio, whether that's a third-party and they do it through publishing. I'm just trying to think. Moon Studios has said openly, even jokingly on our podcast, that they would love to do a Banjo 3. They've said it openly. They said they'd love, if Microsoft approached them to do Banjo 3, they would probably do it.
Well, Moon needs to approach Microsoft and Xbox Studios and say, hey, let's do this. I've also heard Moon had, they were a little iffy on Xbox's plans with Game Pass. Their CEO made some comments about being more multi-platform, but
his words, look, the thing about Thomas is actually, he and I are very similar in that sometimes we don't let stuff run through the filter first.
Sure, like I've been there.
What we're thinking in our head, it doesn't always come out the same way from our mouth, and it's misinterpreted. And I know a lot of people were DMing me about Thomas's post on Reset. Yeah, Thomas is in our Discord. We were all chatting in the Discord, and we all understood what he meant with that comment. A lot of people were like, oh, he wants Microsoft to go third party. That's not what he wants. Mm-hmm. I think he was more referring to gaming being truly open. In an ideal world, they'd all be multi-platform, all of them, PlayStation, Nintendo, Microsoft, all of them would be.
Well, I mean, I can stand up for him by saying he has every right to feel like Ori was huge. Ori's huge. It's like one of the highest rated games on the Xbox platform. And no matter who you are, if you made that game, you'd be thinking, how much bigger would Ori be if it was everywhere? And you're allowed to think that, whether you struck a contract or not. And of course, when he said that, I'm like, hey, but then we create things like, Nick, you have a podcast and you have a site, like you're a creator and you want your creation to be as big as it can be. And you have every right to think, what if, right? I got to give a shout out to Hargeet Chani. He didn't have to send a super for saying that. Hargeet was the one that said it. We were talking. He was the one that said, when Satya said we're all in gaming, prepare for disruption in the industry. Big moves, really big moves. And everybody teases you and I, Nick, about acquisition season. We talked about that on the show here months ago. And it's very obvious that PlayStation's made these little purchases. Like these are, most of them are very little purchases. If Xbox is looking at something big, we will not hear about it for a year or more, right?
I think what people forget is, and if I said it on our podcast, if people want me to be more specific, I did say I predict that Microsoft will make acquisitions this year. I didn't say Microsoft last time I was on your show. This time I'm saying Microsoft. This year I'm pretty confident Microsoft will make a couple of acquisitions. But the thing is, like, you have to look at who's been acquired, right? So Embracer is acquiring a ton of stuff, but can you honestly say outside of Gearbox you've heard of most of it? Or would you argue most of them are big studios or big name studios? No, they're not.
Sure.
Same with Sony.
We all had to Google
Sony's last big acquisition was Insomniac. And it wasn't big in terms of dollar value. It wasn't even 250 mil. But it was big in terms of Insomniac is a big name in the industry. Very respected developer, very good developer. But, Valkyrie Studios is a support studio. No one had heard of them before they were acquired, and they helped on Halo Infinite. They helped on God of War. Yeah. They helped... they're a support studio. That's what they do.
We're all like, yes, Valkyrie! How do you spell
it? That's right. Nix's is a porting studio. Bluepoint's a remake studio. So... where Microsoft is targeting bigger than that. Microsoft, as we saw from Bethesda, Microsoft's looking at publishers, not just little studios. And they're looking at bigger name studios. So, and Microsoft being who they are, when Microsoft wants to acquire, it's not the smooth road it is for others. It's just... a fact of life. It's not a smooth road. Look at Tencent
because
now.
They're massive.
That's right. And look at Tencent. Tencent keep trying to acquire. They get some, they don't get others. Because again, they're a big company, so it's not going to be the same smooth road it is for someone like Embracer.
What about shout out to, who was this in the chat? Tyrone Israel said Monolith. Like Xbox has been partnering and working with Monolith on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, or Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. I always mess it up. Middle Earth Shadow of War in 2017. Yep. Like they marketed with them, they helped them, they worked on the game port on 1X when it launched. Everyone is.
But they're part of WB though, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But everyone's like, Xbox, why don't you buy WB? It's like, why don't you start with Monolith and get Wonder Woman over as an Xbox exclusive? It doesn't have any platforms yet.
I'm against the grain on WB. But I think a lot of people think that Microsoft might only take, if they were to go for WB, they'd only take like a studio here, a studio there. I think Microsoft would just go for the whole lot. Mm-hmm. I think they just try and do a deal to grab all of it. Every studio, all the IP. I mean, not all the IP, because there'd be IP that involves licensing, like Lego and DC and all that sort of stuff. But, I don't see Microsoft trying to just pinch a couple out of that group. I think it would be all or nothing for them. But I personally think they'll look at probably like Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Square seems to be pushing all their Western studios under the bus publicly on a regular basis. They seemed awfully willing to just lend Crystal Dynamics to Microsoft for Perfect Dark. To me, that seems the most obvious acquisition for next year. Crystal Dynamics seems like the most obvious one to me.
You think Xbox wants to wait until that game launches well and everything goes well with the partnership? I mean, Daryl already knows the team.
I don't know if they'll wait that long because I don't think Perfect Dark's coming before 2023. And I doubt... Like, well, what? You don't think Perfect Dark is 2022, do you?
No. I think probably 23, but I'm a little frustrated if it's 24, but we still haven't seen anything, so... Really,
and that's what I mean. So I don't think Microsoft would want to wait that long if they were going to acquire Crystal. I think if they were going to acquire Crystal, they'd do it now. They just get it out of the way.
Crystal probably wants to go to Xbox at this point.
They probably would. They've always had a brilliant relationship with them. Daryl Gallagher is at Microsoft now, head of initiative. You have to wonder if they were to acquire Crystal, do they just merge Crystal and the initiative?
Oh, and just dissolve them. Yeah.
Just merge it into one and call it Crystal Dynamics because Crystal's got a name, the initiative doesn't.
Some people think that the initiative is just going to be a contract team and just like bring in Crystal Dynamics, build the game and say, okay, we'll call you when we need something else. But I would rather see them bring Crystal Dynamics into Game Studios circle and then just have them work. They can work on their own thing if they're not helping initiative on the next game. Yeah.
Nah, see, to me, it makes more sense just to merge them with the initiative.
But they want to stay small and agile. They've said that's something that they said.
You know what? Things change, mate. Things change. Ducking duck. You got to move with the times, mate. Things change.
It's such a good future, though. It really is.
Yeah, to me, Crystal Dynamics seems like the most likely to happen at some point, probably next year.
Yeah.
And I'd wager that if it does happen, I'd be very surprised if the Tomb Raider IP doesn't come with them. I'd be very, very surprised. I don't think Microsoft would just. You don't think that the
Tomb Raider IP belongs to Square Enix? It belongs to Crystal.
I'm not sure who it belongs to. I'm just saying that if Microsoft. I'm just saying that if Microsoft were to grab Crystal, I would be surprised if they didn't try and get Tomb Raider as part of that deal as well.
Oh, man. It says Square Enix owns the trademark and character of the franchise.
Yeah.
So, I wonder how if that's easily. I wonder if Square Enix looks at Shadow of the Tomb Raider and says, "Well, the first two did really well, and the third was dicey. Yeah, for the right price, we could relinquish that."
And I just don't think they care that much about the IP. Like,
no, I mean, not.
With every passing day, it looks like Square just cares about Final Fantasy. They don't care.
And PlayStation.
They don't care about any of their other IP. So I don't envision them being stingy with holding on to Tomb Raider. I reckon they'll just be like, you know what? If you pay the right price, you can take Tomb Raider with them.
Yeah.
That's because to me, the Tomb Raider IP is far more valuable to Microsoft than it is to Square.
Absolutely.
Like Microsoft.
Imagine that character being a part of the game studio, Xbox Game Studios.
It'd be massive. Like, it gives them. It's one of the most recognizable video game IPs on the planet. Look at what Microsoft did with Minecraft. Imagine what they could do with Tomb Raider.
Oh man!
I'd be very, very surprised if Tomb Raider was not part of a hypothetical deal to get Crystal Dynamics.
I mean, this needs to be the acquisitions we are seeing is something like a partner coming to Xbox or an IP or franchise being bought by Xbox. They're going to need that because PlayStation is working so hard to take everything that is Final Fantasy related with Forspoken and Final Fantasy, like anything that's Final Fantasy from now on is like bespoke PlayStation until otherwise stated. Danta Taku, this one goes way off topic, but I like his his passion. He says, thank you for the $5. He says, the only thing I care about from Ubisoft is Mario plus Rabbids 2. He forgot it's 2022. They also need to make a Child of Light 2. But he mentions one of my favorites, Rayman. Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins are awesome games. Those are great IPs.
Rayman, eh?
Yeah.
I may have been told some things about Rayman.
That we may see a return from Rayman Legends or the Rayman team?
Probably not. Probably not.
Oh, man, that's such hours we spent on that. And then he says Valiant Hearts 2.
Yeah. I wouldn't hold my breath for a Rayman game anytime soon.
That's a great platformer, though.
I like the Rayman games. I reckon they're really good. I just don't think they did as well as Ubi wanted them to.
They gave away Rayman Legends on Games with Gold one month, like 6 years ago.
They give away Rayman Legends and Origins frequently. Whether it's on any service that gives away games, Rayman has been a part of it.
Like Humble Bundle and stuff.
Humble Bundle, Games with Gold, PS Plus, Epic. Actually, has Epic?
Side note, get rid of Games with Gold Xbox and start working quicker toward getting rid of Xbox Live Gold. Please. We don't care about Games with Gold.
I love Games with Gold. I feel like the only person that still loves Games with Gold. Like, and not because of the Xbox One games, because of the 360 and OG games. Like, they give us all these backwards compatible games to keep forever. No one...
Yeah.
Like...
It's been a while since they gave me a great 360 game. But
you reckon?
Yeah, there was like a Micro Machines game they gave out last year that I was like, I was in a party chat one night and I had a ball playing this game, racing around like kitchen tables and stuff. But that's my stance: is get rid of Games with Gold. If it means like if Games with Gold costs them $20,000 a year, like I don't know, whatever it costs them, because they have to pay for those games.
That's right, they do.
Like, if it just gets them sooner to getting rid of Xbox Live Gold, the paywall, so be it. Gamer by Choice, thank you for the $5. Says, my concern with the comment that Moon's studio head said is he called out Microsoft for not being the first one. Why not call out PlayStation, Nintendo? That was my issue. Yeah, I mean, it did seem like he was harping on Xbox when Xbox is nearly everywhere but a PlayStation console. So I think I'll side with Nick that he meant there's more to it that's not so, acerbic, I suppose. But that didn't sit well, but of course Moon Studios loves working with Xbox. A great one, a 450-pound super chat from the Dars Knight, a good friend of mine in the UK, says, whoa, he says, I crap the bed, I can whack a super chat. Nice to hear sexy Nick too. Oh, I guess behind the mic we both sound incredible. And Pixel.
I doubt it. I hate my voice. I absolutely hate my voice. It's gross.
Nick, I've heard my voice a lot of the videos I make, and today when I was in super chat, Tim Dog's headset was up too loud, so I kept echoing back. I just kept thinking, for years I've heard myself recording while I was talking to him. I'm like, is that what it really sound like? I am so sorry.
You've got one of those radio voices. You have one of those radio announcer voices, like, or almost like that voice that happens, those movie trailers, the blockbuster movie trailers, and they're like, this summer. Blah, 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 blah,
yeah, but you've got the default, like, you've got the Australian accent, which automatically makes you sound incredible to like 90% of the people in the chat, man. Chat, let us know. Is it
my Australian accent? My Australian accent has that ethnic spin to it because I'm Greek, so it's got this ethnic spin to it that it sounds gross. I hate my voice. I absolutely hate it.
The chat loves it, man. The chat loves it. Yeah, but I don't know. I think we're going to talk about 2022 on the channel. I can't wait to I just decided today I was going to kind of work up this video about next year because it's absolutely crazy. Nick, I know you're super excited. Thank you so much for being on the show. XNC Podcast. It's been really fun. We almost got to 500 likes. So if anybody's there who wants to take a second to hit the like button, we've got almost 600 people watching. So I'm sure the people have been in and out. But if you can give us a like and get us to 500, that would just make me feel really great. Ooh. And Dark CMF, thank you for the $5.
Yes. I agree with this super chat very, very much.
He says, I don't care about Games with Gold or Xbox Live, but give me a Game Pass family plan.
It's insane that they don't have a family. Even Nintendo, who doesn't even know what the internet is, even Nintendo has a family plan for Nintendo Switch Online. Microsoft has a family plan for Office 365. Like, Microsoft are basically the pioneers of subscriptions, and yet they don't have a family plan for Game Pass.
I think there's a reason that there's so many people who are joining, and I wonder how many, if we're at like 25 million, how many people are like me? I've got like 2 years of Game Pass for almost for free by paying extra on the gold and doing like the upgrade. And I wonder how much of that, when they're looking at this much money coming in, they can't quite offer a family plan. But you never know. A family plan, Nick, might bolster the numbers. More people might join. It would. And it might bolster the revenue stream. So
that's
I'm sure they're looking into it.
Like, I understand. Like, already I've seen a comment, Brandon P., people abuse the Nintendo family plan. Okay, there are going to be a small percentage of people that abuse it. But, like, here's the problem, right? And this is the thing. Hardcore gamers like us, we all have this warped belief that we represent the majority. Fun fact. Right. We do not.
We do feel
we are very much the minority. The people that abuse console sharing, family plans, we represent such a tiny fraction of the market. Like, the majority of people that I know that have games with gold don't even redeem the games. They don't even redeem them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really don't, and I'm hardcore.
I do. Religiously.
Phil Spencer said that he loves that, I think it was Phil, that he loves that people game share. Like, it's built into the system. Like, it is to their benefit that people game share.
But most people don't. Most people
don't. And
most people don't even know what it is.
They don't even know what it is. They don't. I've game shared with Underachiever and Dealer for a couple years. It is a fact that I will buy a game. 50% of my reason is, my game share buddy will get to play it. You know, like I justify the purchase. I buy more games because of game sharing. And then Randall Thor has been game sharing with a good friend for years, and they have you buy this, I buy that. Like,
that's right. You take turns.
Every game, no matter what. And so I know that game share account is buying more games than it would normally.
That's right, but that represents a tiny minority, and that's why they need the family plan. The family plan would increase Game Pass subscribers; it wouldn't decrease it. My son
because the family plan costs more.
To Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
A family plan would be like $20 to get 3 people on one plan, right?
That's right. Like we have 3 Xboxes in our household, but I can only console share on 2 of them. So my daughter doesn't get access to my library. My daughter doesn't get access to the Game Pass stuff, but my son does. If we had a Game Pass family plan, not only would I be giving Microsoft more money, there's an extra person that can play all those games. Like, it's just crazy that they don't have a family plan.
And like, Xbox has that thing that when you look at your friends list and you see what they're playing, you go, "Oh, is that game good?" I'm looking over at that section of the screen, right? I'm like, "Oh, is that game good? I'm gonna buy that." I do that today or yesterday. Kid Smooth was playing the back compat FPS boost version of Binary Domain. I go, "Oh yeah, I played that on the PS3. Oh, it's $15. FOMO," and I just bought it. So family plan.
They have to do the family plan. Like even Apple does it. Like, and it makes sense. Like most people aren't going to go out of their way to abuse this stuff because they just can't be bothered. They don't know how to do it. We've got that many iOS devices in our house, so we just pay $40 a month for Apple One, and it covers everything. People would do the same for a Game Pass family plan. They'd be like, "Oh, we've got 2 or 3 Xboxes in the house. Game Pass family plan. We all get to access those games." Awesome.
I think more people would do family plan than would try and do console sharing across the house and get that all like working in tandem. So I think you're right. Pixelbit G with the $2 super asks you a question, Nick. Would Microsoft go after IO and the Hitman IP?
Yep.
I think they would too.
Yep. I very much think they would.
I mean, they're working with IO on a game right now. So
I would not be surprised if Microsoft are currently trying to do that. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
There has been talk for a while that IO and Microsoft, and part of that talk is them working on this Project Dragon, but I mean, you look at PlayStation's acquisitions, they've bought teams that they've worked with almost all of them, right? So like you don't buy someone if you haven't worked with them. I think.
And I just
IO
think
and Hitman's a good one.
IO wanted to be independent. I think it was more they just didn't want to be under Square. Like, look how Square treats their Western studios. Why would you want to be under them? Where, I mean, anyone can see that current Xbox is not the same Xbox that shut down Lionhead, that let go of Bungie, that let go of Twisted Pixel. It's not the same Microsoft. No. And to me, there's no better example.
Shout out to Don Matrick.
Yeah, there's no better example of current day Microsoft than Obsidian. Obsidian is that studio that we had all heard the rumors about how much Obsidian hated Microsoft. Microsoft cancelled Stormlands or whatever that rumored game was called, and it soured the relationship between the two of them. Obsidian don't want to deal with them, blah, 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 blah. Yet they've now been acquired by them. So to me, there's no better example to another indie studio of why maybe current day Microsoft is good to be under than Obsidian. Mm-hmm. So I don't think IO would have too much of a problem being under Microsoft when they see what current Microsoft does and how they treat their studios.
I mean, they're already partnered with them right now working on a game. So I think they are already warmed up to the idea. And I would think that when you look at something like IO chat and audience, like IO is doing the same thing Xbox would be doing. They're thinking, Xbox thinking, is IO a good fit for us? And IO is thinking, do we want to work with Xbox? And it's a totally different working atmosphere. It sounds like game studios are pretty happy right now working under Xbox. So
you know what would be a really good recruiting tool for acquisitions and for smaller indie studios for acquisition? Game Pass. Imagine you're an indie studio and the biggest... Whenever you hear an interview with an indie studio, they all have the same number one concern, which is financial security.
Right. Yeah.
Number two is usually creative freedom. Imagine you tell a studio you never have to worry about how many copies you sell. Don't worry about it. And have as much money as you need to make the game you want to make. Because we've got 25 million, 30 million subscribers. Don't worry about how many copies you sell.
And when you're a game developer, another thing that's really important that fanboys don't understand is when Obsidian makes a game, they want a lot of people to play it.
Yeah.
Because when you're a game developer or a studio lead, like, of course, you get paid up front and there's some royalty and stuff that comes after the fact. But what matters is where that game lands, how many people are talking about your game, how they're loving it and bringing people to come play it. And the numbers get up there and we're like, we got this many people playing your new game. That means a lot. And the amount of people that can play because of Game Pass is a strong motivator for these studios.
This is why I think Arcane and Ninja Theory are the two studios that are really gonna come into their own and flourish under Microsoft, because they're two studios that have always either struggled with a lack of budget, struggled with a lack of attention, or whatever the case may be.
They've had to grassroots their games.
They now have both. Yeah. With Microsoft, they now have the resources and the budget, and with Game Pass, they now have the audience. Look at what Game Pass did for Prey. When Prey came into Game Pass, it was all over social media, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you got to play Prey! I can't believe we didn't play Prey when it came out."
I ditched it when it came out because of Game Pass. It was one of my favorite games that year, and it was old. I love it. I love it. Dark CMF is what the $5 says. Yeah. I'd buy another console just for family plan almost immediately. Both my boys and I could play together easily. Yeah, thank you, Dark CMF.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there are ways around it. Like you can leave your profile logged in, and as long as you're not on the console, they can leave you logged in, and they can log into their account and access your games. But that's like not something that's easily understood.
It's not convenient.
Yeah.
And if you're an achievement hunter, it's a big no-no. Because the last thing you want is achievement lists for games you weren't interested in playing on your gamer tag. Anyone who's OCD about achievements will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I don't know, good stuff ahead. We'll report on a lot of it. Thank you so much, Nick. We went longer than
I know. Before the show started, Colt said, you know what? There's not much news. Probably we'll aim for about an hour. We'll go for about an hour or so. We are approaching 3 hours.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like you just burn through a good chunk of your day, and over here on the West Coast, it's a quarter to 8 o'clock. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came on.
No, thanks for having me.
You had some time off, and please invite me on your show. I would love to be back on again. You guys are all great. I had John on a few weeks ago. The Xbox Era team's amazing. I'm in the Discord. I'm not on Discord, so I only see stuff here and there. Like I don't log in, or I'm logged in, but I don't chat on there as much. But yeah, you guys are all great. But
you need to.
Yeah. Thank you. We got 8 more likes to get to 500. But Nick, this is your opportunity. A lot of people know who you are, but this is an opportunity to brag about what you guys have coming up on the site and on the podcast, and tell them about the launch of this book. And then we'll get out of here.
You can obviously catch us at xboxera.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of everything. All our stuff's there. The podcast is there. News, reviews, the forum. Join the forum. Even Phil joined the forum.
Yes.
I think Colt is on the forum. You're on the forum, aren't you?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Join the forum. Lots of passionate Xbox fans there. As Colt alluded to, our Kickstarter for our book celebrating 20 years of the original Xbox, or celebrating 20 years of Xbox, just finished. We got to about 137% funded, which is great.
Jeez.
So now the work begins on that book. Me being lazy, I probably won't be doing a lot of work on that. I'd say Pre-Drag will probably be doing, our amazing art guy will probably be doing most of the work. But we have a lot of great contributors. We've got Colt, got Jeff Grubb, Seamus Blackley.
Awesome.
Tom Warren, MVG, Clobril, I think Rand as well, I want to say. It should be great. I've got mine in. I ordered the Overshield edition, it's called, because I wanted that nice slip case for the book. So we're also working, another thing we're working to do, so we're good friends with an indie developer called Anorexic, who really enjoys being a part of the community. He gave us like 150 codes for his game, Omega Rally Championship, to give away to all our patrons. So if you sign up to our Patreon, you get a copy of Omega Rally Championship.
That's a cool game. That is a cool game.
It is a really neat... It's part of the Creators Collection, which is sort of like the Xbox One equivalent of XNA, I guess. Really cool little game. And he wanted to do more, so we're in talks with him at the moment. He wants to take our book and make it like an app on the Xbox store and on the Windows store, so in digital format, so you could read our book on your Xbox, which I think is really cool. So we're working on that as well. So we've got a lot of stuff coming. I am at special_Nick on Twitter if you want to follow me there. I talk a lot of crap. Maybe don't listen to me.
I went to great lengths to spell your name correctly because it's so
difficult. Because you got it wrong last time. I fool people with the way I spell special. It's that ethnic spin again that I was talking about on that accent that I have. But xboxera.com is where you'll get basically everything for us and everything we're up to. Everyone puts in a lot of work. I don't. I'm very lazy. I don't do much work at all. But all the rest of them put in a heap of work, so it'd be great to support them.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see more. I'll share something out when I get a chance to contribute to the book. So it's going to be amazing. Kendrick Starr, thank you for the $2. He says, Arcane art style hurts their games. Play unsighted. The art style for Arcane is kind of whimsical, but no, I would never ask a developer. I would never ask a developer to change what they do. And
I think their games generally look pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they have kind of a chiseled look, and they also have a watercolor look to their games. But I would not
I like
argue with what is very successful for them. But I also think that Redfall is not so much like Dishonored and Prey as far as
I don't
art
think
style.
it will be.
Right. It's going to be more like more grounded in realism with stylized characters. So I can't wait to see that. But thank you so much. This show's been super long. This will be on demand on YouTube after it processes. Also get it up on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, and Pocket Podcasts in the coming hour. And I'll try to get timestamps in there. You take a week off and the brain just totally blanks out. It's crazy. Yeah. Nick and I were all over the place, so timestamps would be crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Timestamps will be hell.
Yeah, I do all that stuff on my own, but
I do it for hours as well. And I have to sit there and watch the whole show again and just
I just listen to myself talk. I have to hear my own voice. But yeah, thank you for over 600 people that were watching live and the 500 likes. You guys are great. Let's let Nick get out of here and enjoy the rest of his nice, warm 80-degree weather in Australia in Fahrenheit temperatures. And Nick,
great.
I'll see you soon. And I expect to see an invite in the coming weeks or whatever. But you give me a break. Problem. Okay, guys, we're out of here. Have a good night.
Ciao for now.